Okay. Hopefully everybody can hear tonight. I'm First Selectman Peggy Lyons. I want to welcome everybody to this beautiful new elementary school that just opened in September. And so just want to talk a little bit about the format for this evening. This is the second meeting that the Board of Selectmen is having. It's a special meeting of the Board of Selectmen. There's an agenda that's available on the website. And tonight we'll be hearing from two of the respondents to the Academy Expression of Interest proposal. So the format is, it is one of our meetings, so we'll be doing a formal opening, Pledge of Allegiance, as you'll see on the agenda, and then we'll move into the presentation section. After each presentation, the Board of Selectmen will be asking some questions. There'll be a little back and forth dialogue, then we'll have the second group come up and speak. At the end of this meeting is citizens' comments. And I just want to highlight, as we mentioned on Tuesday, this isn't really a back and forth conversation with the different proposers right now. This is really an opportunity for the community to see the presentation and the board to ask specific questions. The next step in the process is the board will have a meeting probably later in January to kind of determine if we want to move forward with one or two concepts and what that process would look like. There'll be plenty of opportunity for the public to ask very specific questions once we pick a path as we move forward. We did, though, set up the Ask Academy email address. It's on the website. So if you do have questions and you feel like you just want to get that question in no matter what, send it to us on the Ask Academy. It's askacademy@MadisonTV.org, and we will try to get a response to you if we can. So you can easily email that to the town, and we'll try to pull all those together and answer what we can at that point in time. So hopefully the sound is working a little better. We had some issues with the mic on Tuesday. I also want to highlight this is a hybrid meeting, so we do have people attending virtually as well. And so for our presentation people, just be mindful that they speak as loud as you can, hold the mic up close to your mouth, and then note that this is being recorded and there are people watching this online. And we may be taking comments online at the end of the meeting. So with that, I would like to go ahead and call to order the Board of Selectmen special meeting for Thursday, January 8th. Please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. And I think tonight actually didn't have any business items on the agenda. So we can move on to the order of business, which is item number 3, discussion regarding the Academy Expression of Interest responses. And I'd like to invite up first the Refined Living and Montano construction team group that's here tonight. So I'll hand this over to you. All right, there you go.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Everybody can hear me okay? All right, thank you very much. I appreciate you all being here in the cold and listening to us. And thank you to the board for everything. We appreciate it. I'm going to pull up my slides here. Here we go.
And I do want to highlight, these are going to be available on the website as the ones from Tuesday, or the actual presentations. We post them after the meeting. So.
Okay, fantastic. I appreciate that. So, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Robert Letskis. I've been here, and I am here for 2 reasons. Number 1 is that I've been listening to the residents. I've been listening to them quite a bit, as a matter of fact. And I've been listening to the board, and I've been listening to what you want, and I've been listening to what the residents want. And I have a plan to do everything that everybody wants, all combined, right? I know that's a tough thing to do, I get it, but I'm willing to give it a shot. And I know for a fact, I put hundreds of hours into this so far. Not 2 hours, not 10 hours, hundreds of hours. You can ask my wife, she's sitting right there. I don't sleep much these days because I drive by this academy school every single day. I bank right next to it because I'm one of you. And I'm one of you. I live here. Work? Here, point this way. There we go. All right. So my name is Robert Letskis. Company name is Refine Living. I am a Madison resident. I've been here since 2019. That's a picture of my beautiful wife and my son right there. Pretty handsome guy, right? Letskis family. That's us on State Park, Hammonasset State Park. Walk in, it's one of our favorite places to go. My wife is a police officer. My son does retail, he's a retail manager. You will see us around Christie's, doing brunch, having a mimosa. I had the Bloody Mary the other day. It was actually really interesting with the bacon and all that. It was pretty good. You'll see us at, you'll see my wife at the Villa Nail Salon. You'll see us all over the place. We're everywhere in Madison. The reason why I'm saying that is because for every dollar that's spent in this community, 67 cents is circulated back into the community, believe it or not. So we want to make that grow. We want to help facilitate that. We want to facilitate business. We want to facilitate residents. So a little bit about me. I've been doing this for a long time, right? Company name is Refine Living. I have taken properties, full build renovations, black mold, asbestos, lead, underground oil tanks. I've done everything of it, every piece of it. I've even done new homes, new construction homes, entry level all the way up to multi-million-dollar subdivisions. Right now I'm working on condos, entry level condos, Camden, Thompson, Connecticut, taking a whole community, doing 116 condos there. Got a new mill building that's coming up. It's actually an old historic mill building. We're making 87 units there and 70 units in New Haven. These are all coming up. So, but the thing is, you don't see these school buildings on it. So you wonder, all right, this guy got what it takes to get it done? You're damn right I do. Because I brought the heavy artillery. I got my partner in crime, Montagno Construction, Mr. Joel Fayola. Come on up here and have a couple of words, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Robert. Good afternoon or good evening, everybody. My name is Joe Field. I'm with Montagno Construction, and thank you very much for the opportunity to go ahead here and present. Ms. Lyons, thank you. So a little bit about Montagno Construction. One of our features is the fact of our collaboration with our vendors and our support team and handling the communication on a day-to-day basis with the municipalities. I want to also mention the fact that we've been in business for 40 years under the same name. So everybody, we've completed 760 projects to a tune of $1 billion in revenue. Most of our associates have been with us 20 plus years. And as you probably well know, when you're looking at superintendents staying with a construction company as long as ours do, we have a wonderful opportunity with growth. So most of our supers, like I said, have been with us for 20 plus years. We are bonded for $80 million on a single bond and an aggregate bond of $150 million. If we go to the next slide, please. So a little bit about our structure and our company. We have currently 4 project managers and we have 9 superintendents. We do approximately $100 million a year with this team. We have 2,500 vendors over the course of the last 40 years that help facilitate some of the, we'll talk a little bit more about it. One of the things I do want to mention is in the upper left-hand corner, our administrative team handles a lot of the Section 3, WBE, SBE, and certified payroll on a monthly basis. When you're handling a project as large as this school project for Academy, most of that has to be dealt with on a monthly basis so that the state can go ahead and facilitate the funds. So having an administrative team that's very acclimated to that process is very important to keep the project on time and also on budget. If we can move forward to the next slide. This is one of the projects we're currently working on. We're going to touch on quite a few projects here in just a second, but I just wanted to highlight a couple of them. This one here is in West Hartford. This was an old synagogue that was blighted for about 8 years. We worked with the City of West Hartford Housing Authority converted the synagogue into 49 units of housing, workforce housing. And now currently, this is going to be coming online within the next 60 days. So if you pass by it in West Hartford, you're going to see this. One of the things that's really unique about this structure is we didn't change much of the facade on the outside. So as you drive past this building, the stained glass that you see there in this photo is still there. So the streetscape has never changed. Just added 40 units to the backside. We cut the building in half and then added the units. So this is it's called the L in West Hartford. If we can go ahead to the next one. So this is another school that we wound up doing up in Winstead. This is the Hinsdale Elementary School. Problem with this particular building was there was a river that was running underneath the school, and at one point it had a tremendous amount of mold and hazardous materials. So we wound up gutting the entire school, putting an addition on it. This actually was during COVID. And again, we had issues with trying to make sure we have the switches, which are the large electrical components, to function a building of this size. And even though it was struggling for a lot of those components, we still wound up managing to complete the project on time. We can go to the next one. This is a current project that we're working on right now. This is State and Chapel, 77 units of workforce housing right across the street from the train station. It's a very cumbersome project. It's got historic value. The front building that you see there in the corner is existing. We added the building in the back, which gives it a total of 77. And there's also 8 commercial spaces that you really can't see in this photo, but there's 8 storefronts on the corner of State and Chapel. Let's go ahead and move over to the next one. This is current workforce right now, what we currently have. State and Chapel that we just talked about right now, which is the 76 units. Berkowitz 2, which is 28 units of housing with QA&M, which was the original architect on this project here. That one there is going to be, we're 89% completed on that. Bowfield Greens up in Windsor, Connecticut, 77 units. All of this, the majority of all this stuff is adaptive reuse. New Beginnings, which is New Beginnings Family Academy, a school down in Bridgeport that we're putting together right now. The L, which is the one I just talked about with in West Hartford. And then also, if you look at St. Vincent's Commons, that's we're starting that one just now recently. That's going to be basically it's going to be a homeless shelter with 16 rooms, single room occupancy, a warming center, and a commercial kitchen in Middletown. 2980 State Street. Again, that's in Hamden. That is 64 units of affordable housing. And then Horizon View Apartments. We just started that project there as well. So my point to this is we can definitely handle a building such as this. So starting and finishing it is extremely important. And we'll take about some questions here in just a bit. Go ahead and move on to the next slide. So here's a couple of reasons why you would want Montagno to team up on a project like this. We are schedule driven. We are driven on time, every time. We have an excellent safety record. Matter of fact, our workman's comp safety is 0.91 for a company of our size, which is phenomenal. It's better than expected. We've had 1 loss in the past 9 years. So doing the kind of volume that we actually have somebody every week that comes from Travelers and monitors every one of our job sites, as well as our superintendents on a daily basis do safety laws. We achieve and exceed participation goals. That is the WBE, SBE, Section 3, making sure that we can hire within the community to put some of that money back into the community, which helps out with Connecticut Housing Finance Authority and DOH and DECD funds. We're definitely budget driven. And again, collaboration is one of our key focus. So it's fantastic. Okay, we're going to pass it back over to Robert.
Great job, Joe. I think he's got a pretty good resume. What do you think? Not bad, right? Not bad. there's a bunch of other properties he does, a bunch of other schools. We got limited time here. I don't want to go crazy. You know, it's all in the original expression of interest that was posted online. That was all fixed, by the way. Thank you to Ben. Appreciate that. And we'd like to talk about the Academy School now. Is there any way we can get that line off the top, right there? Sorry about that, guys. That's better. All right. Thank you. Thank you. I apologize. All right. So the Academy School is going to start telling you a little bit of stories here. For 120 years, these halls have echoed with laughter, curiosity, and ambition, serving as a high school, middle school, and finally an elementary school. But time has changed everything, as you know. The school closed its doors in 2004, which once was a pillar of life has become a shell of abandonment, and decades of silence have followed. Today, the Academy lies dormant, vandalized, contaminated, and littered with paint, a reminder of what School Street once was and what it has lost. Guys, I've been in this building multiple times now. All right, I actually went both days when you had the open for people to come in. I went both days. I went through this building, touched the walls, walked the corridors, fell in love with it. I fell in love with the rooftop too. There's a lot of cool stuff going on here. Remember what I said? I bank right next door to this thing. So I'm here almost every day. So I'm constantly looking at this building. In order to develop it, we got a little bit of problems with it. So we got to get those problems fixed. So you bring in the experts. You bring in the experts that can help you facilitate this thing and get it done. So without further ado,
no, Quinn's laptop.
Working. There we go. All right. I hope the next people don't have the same problems. All right, so I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Tim Myjack from EKI Environmental. Very good friend, very good colleague, and he's starting to become legendary in the business side. There you go.
I'll be short so I can answer any environmental questions the board might have afterwards. My name's Tim Myjack. I work with EKI. We're an environmental consulting firm. That's all that we specialize in. I'm a licensed environmental professional here in Connecticut and a hazardous building materials specialist. Hopefully what we're going to do as part of this team is very small, but let's face it, anytime you do any type of projects these days, the word environmental comes up. So we're employee owned. We're about 150 people coast to coast, but we have a specialty niche of experts here in Connecticut. I will be the lead on this project. I'm here at the beginning. I'll be here to the end. We have great working relationships with the regulatory agencies. That would be DEEP, EPH, and economic sources such as the DECD to help assist and fund environmental needs. What do? We do due diligence, we do site assessments, we do hazardous building material surveys to help assist with and plan for renovation and demolition activities. Very unusual, but Robert has the insight to get ahead of things, to get my head into the game at the beginning, so we can plan appropriately so this project doesn't have hiccups as it goes. So we have the expertise, we have the staff, we're part of the team, we're here to the end, and I'll answer any environmental questions if needed at the end.
Great job, sir. Thank you. And Tim and I have worked together on multiple projects in 2025 already. It's already 2026. Wow, it's crazy. But yeah, we've done multiple deals together already. All right. So here you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Here is the vision. I have every square inch of this building accounted for. Every square inch. This is not just a normal housing proposal. This is a little bit different. This has something for everybody. Everything that you could want. If you look at the top, outside the ball fields will remain preserved, honoring the community's history of recreation and gathering. It will continue to serve as a green, welcoming space, a connection between past, present, between neighbors and friends. I don't know if you guys have any memories on these fields, but you can keep them. Those fields stay. We're not going to touch the fields at all. The fields and the whole part of that property, 3.5 acres. But I hear a lot of residents say, we want to park, we want to park, we want to park. Well, the ball fields are going to stay. As a matter of fact, 3.5 acres left over with this property. You could put an amusement park there for all I care. I hope you do. It'll bring more volume and people to the place. At the bottom, if you look around, the upper level, the main and upper levels will be reimagined to 28 beautifully designed residential units, blending historic character and today's, I'm missing that right there. Modern comfort, our efficiency apartments will be dedicated to workforce housing. A little bit different, which will become the very people who make this community thrive. 28 units. That's it. I'm not greedy. I don't need to add on to the building to make it work. I love the building as is. I don't need to do anything. Maybe some of you guys had your first kiss on these fields. I don't know. Go stay. I'm not going to do anything with that. I just need a little bit of parking. That's all. That's not bad, right? Not a problem at all. What is workforce housing? Everybody needs to get out of their brain the normal stereotypes. Y'all got to stop. Okay? I live here in Madison, and I love the fact that I could go to the bar with my jeans on and a sweatshirt and hang out with some really cool people. It's not a country club. We're all human beings, okay? And these are the people that help our communities thrive. These are the people, these are our first responders. These are the nurses, these are the teachers. Guys, I'm sorry, but you shouldn't have to work 3 jobs to live in Madison. Right? I mean, come on, let's be human beings here. Workforce housing is reasonably priced housing for essential workers, like teachers, nurses, first responders, service staff, whose incomes are too high for subsidized housing. Let me repeat, too high for subsidized housing. That means they don't have housing vouchers or anything like that, but too low to afford market rate homes in high cost areas like Madison, bridging the gap between luxury and low income options to keep vital community members housed locally. Guys, we're going to charge $1,056 to $1,140 per month for efficiency apartments. My son's 24 years old. I can't get rid of him, and I love him. I love my son. But he's stuck with me because he can't afford to live in a normal apartment. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's about time we do something as a community. We shouldn't be turning our back on these people. These are real people. Let's give them a shot. This is our shot. This is our shot to make a difference. And it's not just housing I'm doing so much more. Wait till you see. This is an incredible project. Trust me. You guys are going to go nuts over it. Next slide. You want community space, you got it. Not only do you got the ball fields, not only do you got the playground, you have in the front, we're doing a welcome and performing arts center. So I've already talked to the Historical Society of Madison. What we're going to do is I'm going to talk to them just like I'm doing in Thompson, Connecticut. In Thompson, Connecticut, what I'm doing is they have a small little guardhouse right in town. It's right smack in the middle of their town, right on Route 12. You drive through the town, you see this little guardhouse. I'm saving the guardhouse, making it a welcome center with a cafe. So cool. They love it. The residents went nuts over it because we're saving tradition. And that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to actually have a community space shared. We could talk about it. We could go back and forth and see how we're going to staff it and all that. It's about, 1,056 square feet. But if somebody wants to rent it out and do a play or a concert or something like that, they can. Somebody wants to do a party there, they can. Or we want to leave it open for heritage, we can too. We're open. We've been talking to some people that actually are in this kind of business that would love to be a part of it if we want to do some plays and concerts and stuff like that. All right. So I had the pleasure a couple months ago to meet a gentleman. This gentleman was really cool, inspirational to me, entrepreneurial to death. I mean, just talking to this guy, I could talk to this guy all day. True story. I go to Foxwoods Casino to the housing conference. I was sitting right next to the governor of Lamont, talking to him for a while at this conference. Commissioner, Department of Housing was there. All the big people were there. Anyway, this tall guy walks over, and he is the economic director for the town of Torrington. And he's talking my ear. We're going back and forth. I'm a developer, talking about potentially doing some business there. And he's talking about this guy. He's like, this guy has done some amazing things in my town. I said, is it my next guest? He's like, I love that guy. He has done so much for my community. He's brought so much business. It's so many things here. He couldn't stop talking about this guy. So I'd like to introduce you to somebody who's going to fill the gym for us with something really good. I mean, look at all the stuff there. The original gym will be a hub of imagination, talent, and discovery. Boutique shops, studios, galleries, each brought to life by passionate artists, small business dreamers. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Eric Royer.
Thank you very much for inviting me down tonight. So I am the founder of Market Street Creatives up in Torrington, Connecticut. Had an idea about a year and a half ago to create something for small businesses to thrive where it wouldn't cost a lot of money. We have a real need in our town to have some saving cats from tree stories. And a lot of big businesses have moved out, and I have a lot of friends that are artisans and a lot of friends that are small business owners. So I had an idea that I wanted to create an incubator for small businesses, and we came up with this concept, Market Street Creatives. Right now, we opened in July. We have 191 small businesses that have started and are running in our facility. 30% of them are from Torrington. The rest of them are from outside of Torrington. So we brought businesses to start up in Torrington from as far away as Boston, Massachusetts, and Virginia. We are an unmanned vendor market, so we give space to all of the vendors. They can set up their own storefront. They have walls, they have electricity, they have internet. They can decorate any way they want. We use a centralized software system that you can go in and shop and buy something from every store and then pay one cashier. At the end of the month, I get the pleasure of writing out some huge checks to all of the vendors for everything that they've sold. We are a non-commission facility. That was the number one thing when we started this. I do not want to take a penny of anybody's money other than they pay a nominal rent for their space. Reason being is I can't on one half say I want to build this business for small businesses to start, launch, and grow, and then have my hand in their pocket taking a percentage of all the revenue. So we built this out to be able to do that. Ran some numbers this morning with year end, so November and December, which was pretty impressive. The sales we generated with 191 vendors was just shy of $500,000 from November and December alone. Now, this is the average vendor selling candles or crocheted items or woodworking items that average price is maybe $15 to $20. That's a lot of items sold. Wrote out some huge checks this month. Robert approached me about this project. We looked at the school. We're already talking about starting on one or two more of these in the next couple of years. I think I've known Vance Taylor here for a long time, so I know a lot about this community. We're so excited with the idea of being able to start a Market Street Creatives down in this community. I think it would bring in a tremendous amount of art and creativity to this building. And yeah, we're excited. I think I welcome anybody to come take a ride up to Torrington. It's a little bit of a trip, but it's worth it when you get up there. We have a cafe, we have a bar, we have an entertainment venue that we're building right now. Yeah, you'll be there for a couple hours just walking around. So I encourage anybody to check us out online and see what we're all about. But we would love to bring this concept here to your town. I think it would be incredible. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, that's really, really good. Now, we got people probably going to get hungry after eating all that, right? Yeah, I would think so. You probably want to drink after, you know, you have the girls, you shop it, you know, you got the candles, pottery, and all that stuff going on. So you might want to go and have some dinner. Seasonal rooftop restaurant on the roof of the academy, ladies and gentlemen. Early or late spring to early fall. We're going to be booked for years, ladies and gentlemen. Trust me. I got the creme de la creme, the man from Madison that is going to partner with me. See, I make some money on the project. I do. I'm not going to lie. I'm a for-profit developer, but I'm putting my money back into the community. I'm going to partner with him on this. Him and I are going to do this together. Chef Paul Barron is a legend here in Madison. He has done unbelievable food. I've sat in his establishment. He has the table here in Madison, and he does a lot of business, this guy. Above it all, the seasonal rooftop and bar will offer breathtaking space, open to both residents and the public. A place to gather, dine, take in the panoramic views of Madison's townscape and shoreline. It will be a vibrant hub celebrating the town's coastal charm while fostering a new sense of togetherness. Oh, that's so touching, isn't it? Seriously. Come on. How do you, I'm going to keep it moving. Chef, come on up and have a couple words.
Hi, my name is Paul Barron, and I'm a resident of Madison for 15 years. I've had my business about 10 years, close to 10 years. And I just love this community. I mean, I picked it, I sought it out. I grew up in New York, and something about this town from when I came to college in Connecticut drew me to this town. So I don't know, this town's special to me. My kids go to this school. I love this new school. And for 2 years driving by and watching it being built was pretty cool. And I'd love to see that downtown. But yeah, I'm passionate about food and service, and I'm excited to be part of something like this. So, thanks.
Thank you, Chef. All right, let's talk about how we're going to pull this off. All right, let's get down and dirty. That was all the fun stuff and all the excitement. But let's get down dirty into this, because I know the board's going to have a lot of questions for it. But I'm probably going to answer most of them, actually. But we'll see. So here's what we got. Your existing sports fields stay the same. Now, a typical ball field from home plate usually has a fence about 200 feet. Those two ball fields that are there now, they intersect, so you don't really want to put fences there. But either way, you've got about almost 400 feet to my proposed parking lot. So you got room to keep the ball fields. If you guys want to do your big park, by all means, please. Like I said, do an amusement park. I'm happy to do whatever you want. Let's get it done. That's going to be on the town. You know, I mean, we'll help facilitate that. Remember, I'm a resident, and Chef is a resident. We're happy to contribute. We're here. All I'm asking for is, so that little plot right there is 1.55 acres. All right. All I'm asking to do, I'm not adding to the building. Like I said, I love the building the way it is. I'm not a greedy guy. I don't have to. There's enough beauty and enough stuff going on there for me to be happy. And there's a lot of history buffs that don't even want to see these buildings touched on the outside. Well, I'm here. 57 spots. We got 28 residents. We got 29 spots. I'm open to negotiation. If you guys want to do something shared in the front on School Street or something like that. I know the community center had another 20, on Academy Street. We can talk about it, whatever you want to do. Listen, I'm easy to deal with. I'm easy to talk to, all right? But that's the infrastructure right there. It's all subject to municipal approvals, obviously. So, lucky for us, I've already put multiple septics in houses in Madison. And I have a relationship with Trent, who runs your health department. Trent and I had a long conversation about this, and this was exactly the septic system that I told him that I was thinking about putting there. And Trent was all ears. He said, that's exactly what you should do there. This GST system is a system that has much shorter leaching fields, which allows you to do a smaller area, so you don't have to go so far out. This is for 12,000 gallons. And I actually have my septic installer on Zoom. If you have any questions after this, he's available to answer questions too. I did my homework, guys. This is just fluff. This is real stuff. All right? 28 units, 150 gallons a day. Trent and I went over these numbers. 4,200 gallons a day. They're 200-person restaurant. That's bar seating included. That's about 6,000 gallons. 300 visitors in and out for Mr. Royer. Cool. All right. Costs about $350K. Put it all together. Now, obviously, we got to get rid of the other septic. We'll do that within, health, be compliant with health and safety codes and all that, obviously. And obviously, Trent will be inspecting it. So I think we got a good shot at having a real good system in place that is not going to take up a lot of space. All right. So speaking of infrastructure, I don't know about you guys, but when my beautiful wife wants to bring me out to do pedicures with her at Madison Park or Villa Nails or something like that, or I go to Christie's, my internet is not that great. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but downtown, the internet is very, very slow. So I figured, hey, you know what? I invited these guys down to Madison, Iron Chef Sushi to be exact. We had some sushi together, and we had a conversation. And these guys are going to lease some space from me in the basement of the Academy School. And they have the ability to build the infrastructure for fiber here in Madison, for not just the development, for everyone. I'd like to introduce you to Joe from Go Net Speed.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to potentially working on this project. We've done a lot of work with Matagno in the past, and look forward to working with Rob as well. That is correct. I don't want to give too much information because we're currently in the planning process, but Go Net Speed Fiber, we're in 65 communities here in Connecticut. You can go to the next slide. Good. Don't worry about that one. It's not that great slide. So we're in 65 communities here in Connecticut. We're in 11 states on the eastern seaboard. We're currently growing at an extremely fast rate, but we're also looking to develop the shoreline. We're already in Old Saybrook, we're in Westbrook, Clinton, Branford. We're in a lot of the larger areas as well, and we're looking forward to potentially investing multi-million-dollar project into Madison to provide you with high-speed fiber optics internet. If you look at our you can go to the next slide. If you look at our company overall, we have 100 years of experience. We have an A+ rating with Better Business Bureau. But the number one thing that I like to always reference, which isn't on this slide, and I can share it with the town or whoever, Consumer Reports has us at an 86 for our internet rating. The closest in Connecticut outside of us is 31, and that's Frontier. Everyone else is in the 20s and the low teens. We're the number 5 internet provider in all of the United States. So we're really looking forward to making an investment, not only with this project and working with them directly, but making a very large investment into your town to be able to provide dedicated, better internet for everybody involved. One more slide. The reason you go with us, we guarantee our speeds. You guys have probably paid for a gig service through Comcast or Frontier, and you get really slow speeds. You can't get that with us. We don't oversubscribe our network. We provide a much, much better guaranteed service. With that being said, we really look forward to this project, and we really want to be a part of it, and we'd love to make an investment into your community. Hopefully, we can get things started and have better internet for everybody in Madison within probably the next year. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's when I'm trying to check the sports scores and all that's pretty difficult, when I'm downtown. So. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So I understand that you want to do a land lease. I get it. And I'm open to it. I'm an easy guy. Trust me, I am. But I just thought I was just being a nice guy. I figured I'd just throw you $1 million because you've already invested so much in the property. You might as well get some of it back. I offered $1 million, guys. $1 million, myself and Montagno. All right? We wanted to give that for just 30% of the land. We don't even want the whole land. You can have it. The 70%, the town could keep it. Not a problem. Not an issue at all. But like I said, we're open to suggestions. We're open to talking to you about it and, further negotiation. But the town will retain 70%, which is over 3.5 acres. Remember I told you that you could do whatever kind of park you want there. Subject to all municipal approvals, obviously, health, safety, the whole package, building. Subject to final due diligence. If we wanted to do a shared parking agreement on School Street, if we have an overflow, we have 57 parking spots. But, if we have, a big event or something like that, we could have the conversation. Again, I'm open. All good. Land lease is, and then here's the best part of this, is that we're going to be working hand in hand with the town to get everything done, to get our drawings completed, to get our engineering done, getting all our environmentals done and all that. The way my plan works and the way our financing works, we close, we give you $1 million, then the next day we're all taking pictures with shovels in the ground. No one owns the hard hat, in the press, that's all of us. The next day, that's how it works. That's how we set these up. We get a building permit and we're ready to go. All right. So you want to see how much the project is going to cost. Guys, I don't need a dime from you. Nothing. I don't need any money from the town at all. Nothing. Not a penny. State and historic tax credits are about 2.4 million. We've got historic tax credits, which are 1.9. We have a Department of Housing loan, which is a low interest loan at 4.9. We have housing credit tax equity for 4.5. We have an energy rebate loan on money that we're going to get back for making these high efficient for about 56K. And then a deferred developer fee, that's part of our fee, goes back into the project to make the numbers work. All right. On our first rodeo, we've been doing this. We know what we're doing. Development costs are as follows. I know you're going to ask me, development costs might be a little bit low, your construction costs, but I got the guy that does this for a living right here. He can tell you exactly what this costs. We already ran the numbers. We already know what's there. Construction costs 8.5. We got a contingency. You always got to add a contingency for in case you go over budget. So we're 9.3. I'm sorry for everybody on Zoom too. I don't mean to keep my back to you. I apologize about that. How you doing? Architect engineering fees, interim costs, soft costs, developer fee, capital reserves, syndication. That's to put all the tax credit together for us. This is a $14.2 million project, ladies and gentlemen. This does not include the restaurant. This does not include Eric's space. We're going to talk that out and invest with them to get those spaces going. This is just for the housing portion. This is for the basement. This does not include remediation because we still have some question marks there because we've only done a phase 2 so far. We got a little bit of work and Tim could explain that a little bit if you have some questions. But that money there, we can tag team with you. We can go after state grants for that. We're not worried about that. We can make that happen. Tim does this on a daily basis. Next slide. I think I'm going to do the next slide thing. I think that's better off than me doing this. These are my financial consultants, ladies and gentlemen. $4.7 billion in tax credits they have gotten. That's with a B, okay? Newcastle Funding, our Newcastle Housing Ventures, and Brian Wishnev and Associates. They do the historic tax credits for us. Adam from that company is actually on Zoom. If you have any questions afterwards, he can answer them. That's the projects that they do. 250 total, over $1 billion in tax equity secured, I'm sorry, and 4.7 billion in projects. You think we could do the academy school? I don't see why not. These guys, I've got a team that's unbelievable to do this. Next slide, please. Here's your choices. I hear every day, tear it down. You don't see me that active on like Facebook and stuff like that. I just sit back and I just watch you guys. That's how I operate. And then I speak my mind when the time comes. Now's my time. Here we go. Demolition, $3.3 million. Taxpayer money would go down the drain if you guys demo this thing. That's if you're lucky. Might be more. You don't know. Insurance, maintenance, over the next 10 years, I figured maintenance, about 30K, 30K a year, maybe more with the snow we've been having. Insurance, it's going to cost taxpayers about $3.7 million over 10 years. Let's do the flip side. Let's get Robert's development in here. We got all types of tax revenue coming in. This is just over the first 10 years. I phased it out and I got it going up 3% every year after. But ultimately, if you look at it all, I did a $1.2 million valuation of the restaurant, 250,000. I'm probably way off on your valuation, by the way, based on your numbers, but it's all good. Probably going to bring in a lot more taxes, actually, now that I hear them. Ultimately, over 10 years, that's a $6 million swing of taxpayers' money. What could you guys do with $6 million? How about this? Why don't we go and give a grant to somebody so we can get a grocery store to where Roberts used to be, because I got to drive all the way downtown to get my groceries. I'm in North Madison. Maybe we could clean the beach. Madison, I know it's a state park, but I'm tired of walking on rocks. Take $1 million to do that. Right? Why not? So that is the difference in 10 years with my development and the demo. I'm giving you a park. What do you got a demo for? For what? It don't make any sense. What, you want 5 acres instead of 3.5? Who cares? Don't matter. Next slide, please. Benefits of saving the academy. Preservation of a town landmark, a historic town landmark that nobody wants to get rid of. Desired community space. Preservation of our, me included, sacred ball fields. New tax revenue. Small business development and opportunity. New residents for the community. Workers. More tourists. Better internet. Endless entertainment, more memories, great times, and $1 million for the pleasure of accepting and developing this wonderful project. I don't think there's anything more to talk about. That is a big difference, and that's a wonderful offer for you. You want to do the land lease thing? We'll have the conversation. No problem. Next slide, please. This is what it looks like. Everything combined. This is more than a redevelopment. It's a rebirth of purpose. This iconic building will once again be a place where people come to live, learn, thrive, and belong. A place where the town's story is not only remembered, but continued through art, community, and connection by honoring history and inspiring tomorrow. Welcome to Madison, and welcome to the Academy. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your very detailed presentation and answering some of the questions that we submitted. So I just want to open it up to board comments. So we could start on this time.
Bruce has probably got 10 questions. All right, I haven't thought of mine. So one of the questions that I thought of as you were chatting, first of all, thank you. Very detailed presentation. Thanks for bringing all your experts and teammates and all that. You mentioned, you good on your mic? Mic check. All right.
I should do that a lot easier at workout. Anyway,
I can tell.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go deep now, just so I can compete with you.
That's why. It's a nice shirt.
You mentioned tag teaming on the remediation with the town. Can you be a little more specific on what that means?
Absolutely. I'm going to bring my expert in. I know a little bit about this. Actually, I know quite a bit, but I figured I'd let him answer a little bit more thorough than me.
Sure, throw me in the hot spot right out of the box. So what do we know? We know we have a building that is suspect to have hazardous building materials. Those might include lead-based paint, PCB caulks, asbestos, other universal wastes that might need to be handled. A thorough inspection will have to be done for any type of renovation, demolition, and disruption of those materials that supports the building plans. So that'll have to get done. I reviewed the 2023 limited phase 2 the town provided to the developer. There are some concerns with some former underground storage tank graves. Typically to support state funding, those are going to have to be addressed if they're concerns. And, when it comes to mitigation and remediation, I'm going to use the word if, because there's a level of investigation that still needs to be done to support any type of development on that property or planning. That's both in the building with any potential building hazards and underground with soil and groundwater. There are state grants and programs that we're actively working with on a regular basis. When we said in collaboration with the town, and this is, what we would be looking for is town support to potentially go after some grants to support doing investigation and mitigation and cleanup work. Alternatives also are like DECD loans to the developers. But if there's state grants to support housing out there with this type of project, why would we not go for those? So we would need to have the town support the application submitted to, for example, DECD to go after that type of funding. A developer can't go after grants on their own. They need the support of the municipality. So that's the collaboration that we would look for. We would do the heavy lifting, but a grant application, as you guys know, would obviously come off of the desk of the town. But, it's not like it was in the past 10 years ago. The DECD is looking for this type of collaboration. So how much mitigation, how much remediation, we don't know. I don't even want to throw or spitball this at this time until a little bit more assessment is done. Did that answer the question, or any other questions on environmental while I'm standing here? The goal is to not cost the town anything, to go after other sources of funding.
We like that answer.
That's right. That's exactly what he means. It doesn't cost anything for us to do it. It's free money. We're getting free money from the government to clean the place. So we work with you, and we work together and with Tim's guidance, and we get it done. That's what the professionals are for.
All right, I can keep going here because I got to take up Bruce's time. So your cost right now is showcasing about 14.3 million, and you probably watched, given you're a resident here in town, the conversations about our community center. Slightly wondering why you didn't put in a proposal for that, but aside, is the theater, which was frankly a bit of a controversial topic during the community center build out and design, is that part of your cost as well?
No, it is not. So the theater is actually, so what we're going to do is we'll abate the entire, the walls and all the lead, and we'll get all the environmental hazards out of there first. That's the main thing to do, right? Then once we have an open canvas, if you want to do a quasi developer / resident community center type thing, we can both talk about, putting a sound system in there, or putting, some big drapes for the performance arts. Some of the people that we're talking to now that are actually in that industry, they want to do a little bit of a business where they can actually have, teach students and stuff like that. So if that's the case, and it does, we're open to suggestions with the town and with the people. Obviously, listen, this somebody mentioned it the other night that this building does belong to us as residents. It does. So we have a say in it. So at the end of the day, we're going to get it cleaned, get it ready, get it all a fresh, fresh start, kind of like, somewhat of a visual of what this looks like, just bare bones. And we'll have a conversation. But obviously before that, we got plenty of time. So we'll sit down and we'll figure out a plan with it. However you want to do it, we're not depending on that for income, if that's another question. That's just community space. So, any income is a bonus, so we'll make the decision. Do we want to put a killer sound system? Do we want to, do some staging? Whatever, there's just already a stage there. So whatever you want to do.
Right, but I think at the end of the day, community space was a huge factor for residents, at least what I'm hearing. So, leaving it just sort of blank four walls, and I think this is a lot more than blank walls, but, I think that's important to residents, at least in terms of what I'm hearing.
As far as just having a place to go. Well, remember what I said, that we're going to have it open to the community for to showcase the historical history of Daniel Hand and all of that. So that's going to be part of it. So it's going to be somewhat of a museum while we're figuring out the stage stuff. So, I think that's a hell of a plan. I think that's nice. The reality is, and to be honest with you, I have somebody very interested in this. I don't want to make any representations on that now because we haven't shook hands on it yet. But I got somebody also that's interested in doing some performance arts things at night and all that. So, listen, I'm open to suggestions at this point. I hope that answers your question. But I'm with you, and I'm right in town. I'll come. Listen, you want to go have a beer at Brother Mike's? We'll go talk about it. I'm good. Whatever you want.
Can we work at Roberts first?
What's that?
I'm up in North Madison.
I know. We got to get somebody there. Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly.
To piggyback off that question, the marketplace, would that build out be included in this cost?
No, Eric and I are working on it.
Okay. And then my other question is regarding property management. Who handles all of the applications, residents and maintenance of the grounds and building itself?
Yeah, that's going to be a third-party management company that's going to come in and handle the day-to-day operations. We won't have anything to do with that. And obviously we're going to manage the third party, but they're going to handle the day-to-day operations.
Thank you.
Yep. And what happens is when you get the funding stack like I'm getting, we are required to actually do an RFP process. So what we do is we do a procurement where we find the qualified management companies to be able to do that. They collect all the rents. That's how it works. They collect all the rents. There's an audit at the end of the year. We don't get paid monthly. We get paid every year. That's how that works. So that answers your question. It's a bonded, government-approved management company. And I'm banking at the place all the time. I'm right next door also. So you got built-in management with me too.
So we are getting close on time. So could you spend a few minutes talking about the mix of units in your proposal that you submitted? There was 28 residential units, and you said 20% was workforce housing. So what are you envisioning for this 28 units? And then what are going to be, I guess, income restricted, right? When you talk workforce, it's still income restricted, and you're getting subsidies from the state, right? So one of the conversations we've had at the previous presentation, as well as just general in the community, is the ability to designate, some of the subsidized housing for Madison residents. So does any of your financing prohibit that? And then if you could just talk through the mix, and are these 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms?
Well, first of all, they're not subsidized units. They're not subsidized units. They're deed restricted units. The people that are, they're subsidized units, but the people that are living there are working people. They don't have any subsidies. This is all their hard money that's being paid in the rent. Just so we're clear, just so everybody knows.
The rent is discounted, right?
The rent is discounted, yes. So, yep, so their income averages 60% of the area median income, which is about $112,000 in Madison. So they got to make about 70 grand a year, which is, decent amount of money. So that's most of it. That's, and we have 6 of the 28 that are at 50% of that. So 50% is 56,000. So these are working people that work very hard, that just want a place to live, a nice place to live. It's really not a big deal. You know, and it will never become a big deal until it hits home. Until you got that kid that you can't move out of the house. Trust me. You know, I gotta, you know, I'll tell you stories. I love my son to death. He's a beautiful kid and he doesn't drink. He's a partier, but still kind of want him out. You know what I mean? But it's tough. It's hard. You'll see it when it hits home. You'll see.
So just to clarify then, so of the 28 units, 6 of them are going to be for 50% HEI, and the rest of them, which will be 22 units, will be 60%.
Correct. Yeah, and
So
an average
all of
is,
them will be affordable units.
yes, they'll all be deed restricted for working people, exactly. But they can't make too much money, and they're not getting any type of subsidies from the government.
Right. Yeah, no,
So it's, yep, so it's basically people in the middle.
Yeah.
The people that serve and protect us. Those are the kind of people. Yep.
The other question I just have real quick is on the septic system. If you looked at the original plans, it was identified that the best area for a leaching field was going to be where the existing playground is. So that's what they concluded when they designed the community center. With your septic proposal, does that change, or is that where the leaching field, because the smaller, more compact design, does that mean the leaching field doesn't need to be where the playground is, or?
Tim is also a little knowledgeable in this too. Go ahead.
As part of the construction due diligence period, you know, those type of things are going to have to be addressed. And even if there is a designated area that is more suitable, I mean, these type of systems could be put in under parking lots, under playgrounds, under things like that without any potential concerns. The beauty of particularly that geomatrix system is that it literally requires like 60 to 70% of what a normal system would be. So it's a very compact system, but due diligence for the construction phase would still have to be done to validate what the appropriate place would be. And that would come down to the final discussions on which little corner to essentially
Yeah,
site
because
it.
I don't recall, to be honest, the size of the one for the community center. Obviously, there's different uses. That it was an assembly space. It had different uses. So, but I just wanted to clarify that. So thank you. So it may change the location of that leaching field depending on.
Be adjusted a little bit based on the soils.
Okay.
Yeah, but obviously when we get there, you know, we're doing our test holes. We'll have the health department there. They see us open the ground. They do the percolation tests, all that stuff. So everything is code compliant, done, top shelf.
Thank you for a most energetic presentation.
That's right.
In the interest of time, I'm going to be very brief. As I understand, all 28 apartment units are designed for workforce housing.
Yes, efficiency units.
Does the rental income from those 28 units cover the full operating cost of the building?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a little bit of cash flow left over too. So, you know, I'm also going to be invested in the businesses, but yes, they're based on the financing plan that my financing consultant, who's been doing this for 40 years, I've got his spreadsheet with me. It is like math science. It's like, I've got like down to like janitorial things like for like 40 years. It's bananas. So the project works. Yes.
One more quick question. Is the need for the additional 1.5 acres solely needed to satisfy the parking requirements of our zoning regulations? Is that why you need the 1.5 acres?
Well, the zoning right now, it's not zoning compliant at all because we have to get a zoning, we have to do a variance or, you know, an overlay zone or something like that for the development to even make, to work. So, you know, the reality is that I'm just doing it for comfort, you know, so people actually have, you know, technically, I mean, realistically for an efficiency, one car per efficiency is fine, you know, based on most municipalities I work in. Some municipalities I work in don't even require parking at all. But I like to have comfort for the residents, to be honest with you. So I think 57 was sufficient. I think it was a nice number. I think it was comfortable, allows people to have company over or people restaurant or, you know, people go to the marketplace or whatever. But I mean, listen, you know, that's all open to negotiation too. You know, we do a zoning meeting, we can have a conversation. These things change on the fly too.
Hi.
What's up, Bruce?
So as I understand it, there's really four cornerstone aspects to this project: the workforce housing, the performing arts center, the retail space, and the restaurant, right? You've got a commercial tenant in the basement. That's all great. Everybody wants faster internet, so sign me up. Are these four cornerstones all deliverables of the project? In other words, does your project, when it's done, have all four of those: the restaurant, the commercial, the retail space, the housing units, and the performing arts center?
Are they all, what was the question?
Are they all part of the deliverable when you're done with the project?
Oh, yeah. So we're gonna work, obviously, because, you know, we don't want crazy construction going on during everything. So, you know, Eric will be working in the back. We're all gonna work on this together. So Eric will be working on the back on his space. It's gonna take some time. Listen, guys, I have to be honest with you. When you work with these kind of funding arrangements, plus we have the environmental stuff, this is gonna take a little time. It's not gonna take years and years, okay? We're trying to do this as quickly as possible. But the reality is during that time, we're gonna be doing, you know, our inspections, we're gonna be getting access to the building, we're gonna be planning out the construction phases, and anything that I need outside of the units, I got my guy here to supervise all the construction, and I'll let you talk.
No, the deliverables will be 100%.
And I guess the context is, you said that the theater, you would make a blank slate and then work with the town to develop it. Should the town say, we're out, there's not any town funds coming in, are you still making a theater?
Yeah, I'm still willing to do whatever. Right today, it's a blank slate. Just today. Tomorrow, I could take your input and I'll come up with something tomorrow. It's not even an issue. I was just trying to be, you know, be fair and just give you community space. That's what you want.
So you appropriately mentioned diligence. Due diligence that you'll have to do on the property.
Oh, yeah.
Can you give us some examples of what you might find that would say, I don't want to do the project anymore?
Wow. No, I've done all my due diligence. The only thing I can tell you is that if for some reason a round of funding came from DECD and we didn't get the funding for like environmentals and stuff, we just do the next round. And we'll just do the next round. We're going to stay with it. We're going to continue to stay with the project.
So then for you, the diligence is not so much a way to exit the project, so much as a way to make sure that you're lining up the appropriate funding.
Yeah, we just got to make sure that we have the right, we don't want to look stupid. We want to present the exact numbers to the T. That's all. That's the only part of the due diligence. You know what I mean? Obviously our agreement and all that, but you know, the reality is that, you know, we want to make sure that this thing is, you know, perfectly funded. We don't want to have any surprises. We want to have everything done methodically and organized and get it. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we
I'm sorry.
appreciate the answers to the questions, and I think now we'll be moving on to the second presentation for tonight. So thank you for very comprehensive, high energy presentations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I apologize to the ladies. I apologize about that. Well, you guys give them 5 more minutes probably, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you all. And listen, I'm going to be here afterwards. You guys want to talk? I'll give you my cell phone number. Anybody can call. All right, 203-676-9788. Put that in the minutes. That's my cell phone number. You call me anytime you want. Thank you.
Why don't we take a 5-minute break so you can get organized, and then the restrooms are right around the corner. Everybody needs to use the restroom. Everybody, please start here in a minute. Because we do have another presentation and then so, start.
Sorry.
All
right, looks like we're ready. Good evening. Thank you so much for sticking around. We really appreciate it. We are very excited to share with you our vision for the Academy Hotel. My name is Ashley Roper-Ranier, and my family has lived in Madison for over 35 years. I grew up here. I went to Ryerson, to Jeffrey, to Polson. I am from this town through and through. My mom has owned a small business on our main street for over 10 years. And after going to college and starting my career and working elsewhere for over a decade, I moved my husband and young daughter back here 2 years ago because I can't imagine growing up or raising a family anywhere else other than this amazing town. And so I'm here tonight as both a real estate developer, but also as somebody with deep and enduring ties to our community that will not be fading. And so I know that there are a lot of people here on Facebook throughout town who are really tired of dealing with this building. It's been a really long time. Everyone thinks maybe it's just easier to knock it down. But tonight we're going to take you through an economic and community vision for this property that we think is really exciting and something that everybody in town can really get behind and feel a deep amount of pride in. And so with that, I will pass it over to my business partner, Alicia Sigler.
Hi, good evening. My name is Alicia Sigelo. I am Ashley's partner and I'm CEO of Stowed. Thank you so much for having us here tonight. We're really excited about this presentation and our proposal. Before we dive into all the details, I just want to give you guys a little bit of background. Ashley and I have been searching for that truly special property in Connecticut. I also live in Connecticut. I live with my family in Westport. We've been looking for a property that we can combine intentional design and economic viability, and the Academy rose to the occasion. So tonight, we're going to explain why and give you all those details. Thanks again.
We can go to the next slide, please. And you can even go one more. Thanks. So to just tell you a little bit more about who we are, Alicia and I are partners in a business called Stowed, which is an integrated real estate design company. Alicia has a background in finance and law. She worked on Wall Street for over 20 years, doing financial and legal construction for some of the top financial institutions in the world. My background is in project management, corporate strategy, and operations. I have personally program managed and project managed projects for the leading organizations across the country to the tunes of hundreds of millions of dollars. We round out our strategic, operational, project management, financial, and legal skill set with some of the hard skills that you need to really succeed in the real estate development industry. We bring John Jacobson to our team, who has over 30 years of experience in real estate development, developing over $2 billion in assets, including many high-rise buildings in New York City and a leading resort in Europe. We also bring Michael Regan to our team, who was most recently the head of real estate development and equity investing at SIM. So it also brings extensive real estate development strategy and financing skill set to our team. We're also joined today by Josh Michaels, our head of architecture and design.
Hi, as Ashley said, my name is Josh Michaels. My background is in architecture and interior design, primarily on mixed-use and multifamily buildings across my career. Worked on around 20,000 different units of housing across various markets across the US, Canada, Western Europe, East Asia, with a focus on buildings like this, adaptive reuse, historic structures, working with existing context to design and create developments that really situate themselves amongst the existing in a really great way. So we're excited to work on this.
You can go to the next slide, please. So I want to talk a little bit about what we do and what we do not do at Stowed. We are a real estate developer, which means that we are responsible for the execution of the project from the very beginning to the very end. We do the financing of the deal. We do all of the project management, the sequencing, entitlements through final delivery. We are the ones who will source all of the third parties we'll work with. Tanya made a great case for working with them as a construction partner. We will ultimately be responsible for the final delivery, and then we will own the asset. What we do not do is we do not operate hotels. This is not unique in the hospitality industry. When you go into a hotel, it's a common misconception that the brand on the door is also who owns the hotel. It's not true even of the Madison Beach Hotel. A lot of people are surprised to know that the Beach Hotel is family owned, but it's operated by an independent management company out of Boston. So we would be doing the exact same type of model, having an independent operator operate this hotel. That may raise heartburn for some people who would think, oh, well, we're going to present this amazing hotel to you, and then it's going to be operated by somebody totally different, and it won't be anything like what we're presenting tonight. It's not the case. As a developer, we carry the burden of finding an operator who's aligned with our vision and is able to execute what we are going to present to you tonight. Those are highly negotiated contracts where we would be able to stipulate what has to be and what cannot be in the property. And so that is a burden we would carry and something we would negotiate. Ultimately, we would still own the asset at the end of the day. And so as a board, we would still be the people that you come to should you have issues that you need to deal with and want to talk about, from the town's perspective with the building itself. You can go to the next slide, please.
In addition to the internal experience that Ashley just reviewed, we've also had conversations and discussions with brands and people, and let's just say they're very discerning about how they spend their time. We've been talking to brands like Auberge and Blackberry Farm. If you're not familiar with the Auberge brand, as you can see here, the Mayflower Inn is a property here. Anyway, the Mayflower Inn is a property that's here in Connecticut. Jonathan Jacobs, as Ashley mentioned, who's on our team, he's the co-founding partner, Six Senses Ibiza. This is a preeminent health and wellness resort in Europe. The conversations we've been having are not generic. They're very specific to our team. They love our idea and they want to work with us. There are a few things they all say that need to be true for this project to be successful. It needs to be done in an intentional, experiential, and luxurious way. And that is really where Stode thrives. And we're excited that we were able to present our background. And now we want to get to the heart of it and talk about why this makes sense for Madison. You can go to the next slide, please.
So to put the cart before the horse and really talk about what is the impact this project will have on the town, we want to highlight a couple different economic elements, and then we'll take you into the programming and how this actually comes to life. When this project is completed, we believe it will produce 50 full-time jobs. These are for things like general management, assistant general management, sales and marketing, landscaping, ongoing maintenance of the building. These are real 50 jobs brought to the town of Madison. In addition, we believe that $3.5 to $4 million of incremental spending will be spent in Madison through the additional tourist traffic that we're able to bring to town. This is meaningful for our town, given that our Main Street is amazingly still run by predominantly mom and pop businesses. This allows those businesses to continue to thrive and benefit from additional activity in the town. During construction, we'll also produce $35 to $40 million in construction spending. Again, for any Madison resident who's engaged in the construction business, this could mean meaningful contracts over many years. And then finally, we believe this project will produce at least $1 million in annual tax revenue. I know people will ask how we got to that number, so I'm just going to address it head on. We took the estimated cost of the project, which is $68 million, applied 70% of the value of that project, which is typically how you would approach an assessment, and then applied the 2025 mill rate from the town to that number, yielding just north of $1 million. Again, that would be subject to town assessment when we actually got into the project, but the bottom line is that this would produce meaningful new tax revenue to the town. Tax revenue, jobs, new economic spending for our existing businesses. This is a meaningful economic program that we believe is extremely viable, and we're going to take you through some of the market dynamics that give us that confidence. You can go to the next slide, please. And you can keep going. So you'll see, and as Alicia mentioned, we have positioned this project as a luxury property, and there's a reason for that. We're going to take you through some of the logic before we show you what that property actually looks like when it comes out of the ground. If you look at the macro hospitality industry in the United States, growth is really coming from the luxury sector. That's been happening for the last several years. That's expected to happen for at least the next 5. That's why we focus this property in that upper upscale, because that is where the macro growth is coming from. Go to the next slide, please. When you then double click into Connecticut, we also have a lot of conviction in Connecticut's tourism growth. Connecticut has seen an increase in visitor count steadily since post-pandemic at a 2% CAGR. 2% might sound really nominal to you, but it's actually meaningful. There has been no net new product entered into the Connecticut tourist market. Connecticut is a mature tourist market, so this is just true net new demand. You also look at the hospitality market in the United States. There are not many states outside of New England that are experiencing net new tourist traffic. So there is meaningful new demand coming into the state of Connecticut for tourism. Visitor spending year over year is also up. Obviously, that could be inflation driven, which is why we didn't focus on it, but that is also happening in the background. The state of Connecticut has made tourism a hallmark of its economic plan for the next 10 years, and the state acknowledges that the opportunity in tourism has not yet been realized. We think that Madison deserves to take an outsized share in this growth. Go to the next slide, please. So when you take together this macro growth that's happening in luxury, and then you take this tourism growth that's happening in Connecticut, it begs the question, well, is that happening in Connecticut? Is there room for luxury in Connecticut? What we did was we mapped the hotel landscape in Connecticut on 2 axes. You can see the y-axis here is luxury versus what we call select service or budget at the bottom, and then along the y-axis you have scale and function-driven versus experience-driven hotels. There are only 5 hotels that really sit in the experience and luxury category in the state of Connecticut, and only 3 on the experience and event-driven sector. So of the hundreds of hotels that sit in Connecticut, there are only 8 in the upper upscale and luxury category, indicating a massive white space given this macro trend towards luxury spending, as well as demand in the state of Connecticut. We believe that the Academy can fill that white space and also bridge the gap between experience and event space, which you'll see in our programming. Go to the next slide, please. As everybody in this room knows, we are also strategically positioned between 2 very large urban areas, nearly equidistant between New York and Boston. That gives us millions of consumers with a propensity to travel. We are less than a 3-hour drive from both of those markets and can draw so many people into Madison in a meaningful way to participate in our hospitality growth. Next slide, please. This is a little bit of a complicated slide, but I'll take you through each section of it. So when you think about the total addressable market, which is the TAM, the largest bubble here, this is the total market in Connecticut for premium hospitality. That is a $1.3 billion market. When you look at the SAM, the served addressable market, that next bullet down or next bubble down, this is those that are just luxury boutique hotels today. So that would be the market that we would be trying to grow and also compete in. Our revenue model for year 1 operations at Academy would try to capture $20 million, which is just 1% of the Connecticut premium luxury market. So we are looking at a very conservative year 1 capture rate with plenty of room to grow that business into the future. So taken together, you have this macro luxury demand, you have hospitality growth in Connecticut, and there's this massive white space that no one is meeting the needs of this consumer. And we believe that this property can do that and give Madison a chance to really build an economic engine out of an existing building that has sat blighted for over 20 years. We're now going to turn to talk about some of the programming that would bring this property to life and why we have positioned it in the way that I just described. You go to the next slide, please.
So Ashley just discussed the numbers and the demand in the market, and those only really work if we're able to get people to come here again and again. And how do we do that? We do it through the spaces, these spaces. The spaces are what we call the soul of the resort. And these hotel amenities, they're not just available to guests of the hotel, and this is an important point. They're available to all of Madison residents. So to use year-end, every day. Just picture yourself having a new favorite coffee shop, or grabbing a drink on a Friday on a rooftop bar, or rewarding yourself at our spa, or going to an event. These are all spaces for you to use. Next slide. Next slide. I'm going to go through the site overview and really looking at what building we're referring to. The lion's share of the amenities sit in this original landmark building. What you see here is what we're proposing as a second structure right next to the landmark building, just to give you guys perspective of where we're referring to. Down here, you can see other municipal buildings. You have the Chamber of Commerce, Probate Court, and Lee's Academy, and the parking that Ashley's going to get into later in the presentation. But first, let's just start on amenities. Can you? No. So in the original building, again, where we're gonna house most of the amenities for everybody to use on a daily basis, you can see we have here the Schoolhouse Restaurant, where I'm gonna start first. It seats about 70 people, and it's in the former auditorium, sitting right over here on the end of the building. Can you go to the next slide? Before I get into this space and really share why it's so attractive, I just want to give you guys one anecdotal story. I was in Madison maybe like a few months back, and I wanted to get a bite to eat with my family. It was about 5 o'clock. It was an off-season date, and I didn't think it would be an issue to just walk into any restaurant. And what every restaurant told us, and I tried several, if you wanted to eat here tonight, it's about a 2-hour wait. So what that told me is, while Madison has some great places, it definitely has a need for more. Let's take a look at this restaurant here. It's warm, it's inviting. You could just picture yourself lingering over dinner with friends or celebrating a milestone, and it's close to home. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that a Michelin star recognized chef is interested in this project because of this concept.
You can go to the next slide, please. Moving on to the next space we want to talk about is the Academy Cafe. So for people who haven't been in the building and aren't familiar with it, there is a beautiful open courtyard in the center of the building that we would like to reimagine as a cafe. Go to the next slide, please. We would put a glass roof over this existing courtyard and preserve that feeling that you are outside. This is in the heart of the building, giving residents a chance to come in on a daily basis, grab a cup of coffee, grab a pastry, sit with a friend, bring your kids in for, an afternoon snack. This is a lifeblood of the building and a place where we envision residents coming day in and day out. Go to the next slide, please. Moving on. In a former classroom, we are proposing a members lounge as part of our programming. We're proposing a membership program that prioritizes Madison residents. You can join it and then get access to things like special events, programming, the spa, the fitness center, and the like. Go to the next slide, please. With that membership, you would also get access to a more intimate and private space. There'd be a wine cellar. You could imagine some of our exclusive programming happening in this space, a place for friends to come together in a very intimate, warm, cozy setting. Next slide, please. We're also planning to add event space in what was the former gymnasium. So at the back of the building. Go to the next slide, please. In countless conversations that we've had with people in town, we've heard that there is an acute need for event space. It was mentioned in the previous presentation as well. We've heard people are going to other towns and using their municipal space because there isn't enough space for event programming in Madison. We also used to have a lot more events in Madison, like the library ball or the fireman's ball. Those things have fallen away because we don't have the space for them. And so this space could be repurposed for town events in addition to private events. And in our economic model, we did account for subsidized rates for Madison programming so that we can take advantage of this space as a community, in addition to providing more private space as well. There are very few wedding venues in the state of Connecticut that can seat over 100 people. This one could seat at least 150 comfortably. We'll go to the next slide, please. The next space I want to talk about is the retail space. We'll wait for it to come back. Imagine the beautiful story you're looking at. I can just talk about it for a second while we're waiting for it to come. So you go to the next slide. This was also a former classroom. Our vision for the retail space is not to put net new product in this store, but to actually source product from Madison artisans and also the existing boutiques in downtown Madison, so that if you are a tourist, you're staying in the hotel, you come into this retail space and maybe you see product from the dressing room, Willow and Birch, J. Horton, and that inspires you to walk into downtown and participate with our existing Madison businesses. So this is not in competition. This is purposely to fuel the existing Madison economic engine. Next slide, please. And then finally, in the original building, we are proposing a wellness studio and spa. This would be in the basement, so the former cafeteria for anybody who went to school there. We would have a state-of-the-art fitness center, a spa, you can get massages, facials, etc. If you were a member, you'd have access to this space all the time, but of course, any resident could come in and book a service and participate in this space as well. We were really intentional in putting these spaces in this building for a couple of reasons. One, because this is the building that all of us want the opportunity to continue to engage with. People in town should have the right to come into this building whenever they want and participate in it. And that is part of why we were really conscious to put all of the amenitized programming in this building. We also were really conscious, and maybe Josh, you can jump in, about how we architected this building. This building is not suitable for putting heavy loads on roofs, and there are very, very strict regulations that need to be followed to make this building ADA compliant. It is not an ideal building for heavy unit load. Josh, I don't know if you want to talk about some of the technicalities there, but.
Yeah, typically adaptive reuse projects bring with it the challenge of dealing with turning one use into another. Schools are historically very challenging to convert into other uses. So by prioritizing the amenities within this space, we're able to celebrate the existing building, utilize the existing as an asset, while moving the things that need to be a little bit more efficient, like guest suites, to a new structure.
You can go to the next slide, please.
So bringing us, and that rounds out our amenity spaces that are in the original building, and we're going to move over to this second structure. And we're going to talk about this second structure because I do know it is a hot topic here, and we hopefully will address all of your questions and issues. Really looking at where the second structure exists, you can see right over here, there's a lobby. It's a glass enclosed building that brings you over from the existing building to the new building. Can you go to the next slide? And this is just a visual of the hotel lobby. It's a very calm palette. So you're coming again, you come in here, and then you go over to this new building. There's one amenity space that does sit in this second building, and I just want to cover that while we're on amenity spaces. It sits on the 4th floor of the roof of the second building. It's the rooftop bar. Go to the next. And this rooftop bar is a fan favorite. And I can tell you, I know that because I am the recipient and privy to all the email traffic coming in from Madison residents saying how excited they are to have a drink here. You could just picture yourself. It's a warm summer evening and grabbing a glass of wine, or in fact, grabbing your kids after school and getting hot chocolate or a snack. It's warm, it's airy, it's casual, and you kind of just want to hang out there. Go to the next slide. Let's review this second building overhaul and what sits there. The entire resort consists of 62 luxury guest rooms and suites and 4 branded residences. I'll go into detail on what those residents are in a second, but I want to review the guest suites first. Can you flip? And flip one more time. Here's a layout in all of the floors except for the top floor of the second building. And you can see the typical guest suites that are sitting here. They're about 500 to 600 square feet, which is squared right in the right place for a high-end brand like Auberge. Go to the next one. You can see the aesthetic here. It's intentionally elegant. It's refined, it's sophisticated, and relaxed at the same time. You feel like you just want to relax while you're there. Can you go to the next slide? The residents are a very sim palette. They're calm, they're high-end and sophisticated. Let me just tell you what these are. The branded residences are an opportunity for potential condo buyers to buy a stunning New England retreat, and they have access to all of those cool amenities that we discussed earlier. They also have the option of offsetting some of their costs by entering into the nightly rental pool. And really all that means is their unit will be part of the hotel program. Can you go to the next slide? So this is second building creates cohesion for an entire hotel program and its design. Can you go to the next slide? And now I want to address the second building and hopefully answer some of your questions. I know Ashley's going to dive into some of that because she's on your Facebook group page. But really just to start on a couple points here. It is really one of the most exciting pieces of this project, and I'm going to tell you why. And I'm also going to tell you why we need this building. From a pragmatic standpoint, it makes sense because we need this room count to operate responsibly and efficiently. We also needed to fund the restoration of that original landmark building and its ongoing maintenance. From a design perspective, it's not back yet, but it's evolved. We heard your comments. And we want to work collaboratively with the town. We want you to feel good about the buildings that are in your environment. So if you're looking at here, you can see classical colonial proportions. And if it comes back on, it's made with traditional materials, and it feels like it just sits well within the New England coastline. It's very Madison, and it works well, we believe, within that neighborhood. So this is not about scale for scale's sake. This is about sound economics and operational viability. It makes sense architecturally, and it makes sense from a design perspective.
I want to just add that obviously we've evolved the design from the first submission that we presented as part of the EOI. I think that's very emblematic of how we want to pursue this project. We do want people's input so that this can be something that people feel connected to. This doesn't need to be the final design. This was our evolution to try to honor more of a traditional New England aesthetic, but we would be very open to engaging with others. Obviously, we'll engage with a local architect to really make sure that this feels like it fits in our downtown. And so again, I think this is emblematic of how we want to work with the people of the town, with the board, to make sure that this is something that feels right in Madison. Go to the next slide. So, go to the next slide. So now that we've shown you all of the different spaces, I want to go back to numbers again and talk a little bit about how all of those spaces de-risk this project. Because we have not only guest rooms, but also restaurants, cafes, a membership program, a spa, this project is very diversified in its revenue base. It does not rely solely on guest count to drive its economics. In addition to that, we've been very conservative in how we have modeled this project. I'm going to throw a couple numbers at you, but a typical hotel is really driven by two things: your average daily rate, or your ADR, and your occupancy. How many people, how often are you booked? For our model, we have used an average daily rate of $500, which I think for people who are familiar with the Beach Hotel, with other hotels in the area, like the Delamar and Mystic or others along the coastline, you'll know that $500 is quite conservative. In addition to that, we've used an occupancy rate of 60%. This is below the Connecticut average for hotels in totality, which sits at anywhere between 63 and 65% in a given year. It is also below the average for luxury hotels across the nation, which sits above 70%. So at 60% occupancy, $500 ADR, we are very, very conservative in how we have modeled this, and our economics still work on the project. So between diversification and conservatism, we feel very confident in this building's ability to operate. Go to the next slide, please. We'll never know what it is.
Brand new projector.
Do you need to come closer?
No, it's I don't know if it's the HDMI brand new projector. This is what they give you to work with.
Okay, I don't need the visual, I can still talk to it. So the next thing that's going to come on the screen is the site plan, and I think there's a couple things I want to underscore. One, we are not touching the baseball fields in this programming whatsoever. Yes, we have an addition. The baseball fields, the existing playground are untouched by this program. Go to the next slide. I'm going to talk about septic, environmental remediation, and parking as well. For septic, we didn't want to put all of this programming together and then not know if it was feasible. And so we did use the thousands of dollars that the town spent on environmental studies to inform whether or not this is feasible with the information we have available today. This system, the septic system that we required for this project, will put us squarely within the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection's regulations. So we will need to work closely with them to make sure that this system is up to Connecticut code. That said, we did have a preliminary conversation with a civil engineer with expertise in large-scale septic systems who did evaluate the existing soil tests that were done as part of the community center, and looking at both the intensity of water that would be needed for the programming that we are presenting today and the existing soil testing. It is not a non-starter. There should be septic viability with the project based on the information we know today. Exactly as the previous group said, we will need to do additional, verification and diligence. But with what we know right now, we don't think it is a non-starter to moving forward on this project. The same is true of environmental remediation. We know there's asbestos in this building. We know there's lead in the soil. There's a lot that is already known. These are not things that are unusual for a building of this age, and they're easy to manage through the right processes. In addition, we've been very conservative in how we've budgeted for site work. We've allocated $2.8 million before consultants, so before environmental consultants, before civil engineers, just to do the site work related to septic, environmental remediation, and essentially landscaping. So we are very conservative in our approach to budgeting for these items, and we have this financial flexibility should items arise that we were not previously aware of. I want to also talk about parking. When we set out to do the site plan, we originally planned to maybe do some underground parking underneath the new building. As we got into it, we thought that that would potentially be too site intensive. And, you know, obviously there's a lot of sensitivity to this project. Putting a massive hole in the heart of Madison didn't feel like it was something that was really going to fly. And so we decided to try to get as efficient as possible with a municipal shared parking plan. What you see on the screen is 115 parking spaces derived in 3 primary ways. The lot that sits in front of Academy today, if you've been over there lately, is currently a little bit inefficient. The spaces are really wide. In some instances, there aren't lines at all. And so we think by treating this site overall, including the existing municipal buildings, as a bit of a mini overall project site, we can get more efficient in the parking and make sure that the parking also looks like it fits within the site by addressing the sidewalks, the landscaping, et cetera, to drive cohesion. So again, we're getting 55 spaces in that front lot by just driving additional parking efficiency. The second area we're adding parking is over by the playground. Similar situation. It's kind of a lot right now, but not really a lot. If you go over there, there's not lines, there's a fence running through it, and so we can get an additional 35 spaces over there. We've also added a drive into the hotel through both of these parking lots that we're proposing. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is that if you are a guest of the hotel and you're coming to the hotel, rather than congesting that front road or the roads around it, we're giving people a place to come in, unload their stuff, and then go and park. So that's the sort of the purpose of that driveway. We're also able to achieve 15 parking spaces in that driveway on the more interior part here through parallel parking. In addition to these spaces, we think we could get up to 125 also through surface parking. There, as part of the community center, they proposed 20 street spaces along Academy Street. We didn't include that here, but that could be another way to get 20 additional spaces. I think parking would be one of those things that it's a shame to sort of say, well, like throw the baby out with the bathwater if we can't achieve parking. I think there's a lot of ways we could get around parking. Other ideas include partnering with the churches for things like events where their lots are not used when they're out of peak service time. They sit there with a lot of open spaces. Could we partner with them? We also looked at how other venues around Connecticut and in our area manage parking. So for people who are familiar with Chamard, if you book a wedding at Chamard, you're required to have all your guests park at the parking lot and then hire a shuttle service to bring people to the site. That could also be an option here for when we are pursuing, large weddings, other high intensity events. So again, with this plan, we're at 105 spaces. We could get an additional 20. There's other things we could pursue where we can, reduce the intensity of parking should we need to. We've also earmarked funds for traffic studies and other parking consultants to address the overall traffic flow of this site and make sure that we're coming up with a plan that doesn't congest the heart of downtown. Go to the next slide, please. I'm going to pass it to Alicia to talk a little bit more about the financials and how we approached.
DOI asked us to describe our transaction and our proposed structure, and it's very straightforward. It consists of 3 prongs. One, the land stays permanently with the town or in perpetuity. Then the project would enter into a ground lease with the town for a nominal fee. The building would be conveyed to the project for a nominal fee as well. So you guys are probably asking, why does this make sense for us? How does this work for Madison? Well, I'm going to tell you. Nearly $70 million is unlocked in private capital to take on the risk of this development. And you're probably still asking, okay, well, what does that do for me? Well, I'm going to tell you. Number one, it gives you access to this landmark building and all the amenities tonight. It also creates jobs like Ashley described. The hotel needs to hire people. It fuels the local economy. People are going to spend money here. They're going to shop local, including the guests and the employees. And as Ashley mentioned, it generates a lot of tax dollars. And it does all of this without imposing on the town. The EOI also asks us to provide our sources and uses. I'm going to start with our uses in our budget. You can see our hard costs consist of $46 million, which are for things like building the building, restoring the original structure, and building the second building. Our soft costs refer to expenses like architecture and engineering, MEP, consultants for, as Ashley mentioned, environmental remediation and septic. We also have a line item in here, it's called working capital. And this is very typical in any hospitality project. It makes sense so we can open strong. It gives us the confidence and the conviction that we are setting ourselves up for success. We're going to move to the other side here. What are our sources? Where are we getting this capital from? Well, we have an intentionally diversified capital structure here that is very typical of any development in this country, including hospitality. You have a traditional loan. We have C-PACE financing, which is very popular in Connecticut. In fact, there's a green bank here. And these are loans for expenses in things like green materials and long-term assistance in the building. We have federal historic tax credits. And what are those? Those are monetized loans that require us to adhere to certain state and federal mandates on the preservation of the historic building, like the facade. Then we get to tax increment financing, TIF. I want to demystify what this is for a second. These are private loans that are repaid by incremental tax dollars. So what that means, if this project doesn't happen, those dollars don't exist. And the bondholders take on the risk, and there's no recourse to the town. It's not an abatement, and we're not asking for any money from the town. The next piece of the capital stack is really interesting and exciting. It's the equity, which has already been committed in circles. We gave the concept and explained our ideas to our network of investors, and they're so excited about it, they've already leaned in. So in sum, if you guys weren't convinced at this point, I'm going to let one fact sit with you. In 2024, more than $19.5 billion was spent in Connecticut on tourism. And I asked you the question, why can't Madison partake in a larger share of that growth? Well, it can. As we've said, let's take a single underutilized civic asset and create an economic engine. Let's create jobs. Let's fuel the local economy. Let's generate tax dollars. And let's do all that without imposing on town resources. We want to revive the academy and give access to this beautiful building without tearing it down.
So, at the end of the day, I think this is really, in many ways, about a lot more than a building. We have heard from over 100 people in town since we've submitted the EOI, and so many people have shared memories with us of, taking their field hockey photos on the front steps in 1957 to going to the nurse's office on the roof. This building really has a lot of meaning and so many special memories to people in this town that this project gives us an opportunity to preserve.
What great redevelopment projects do is they don't erase history. They invest in its future. And that's what our proposal do. It's my understanding that the schoolhouse was all about bringing people together. And that's what our proposal does. It is economically viable, it's architecturally respectful, and guys, most importantly, it is deeply rooted in Madison.
And so we really think this is, frankly, a once-in-a-generation opportunity to take a building with such historic meaning that has been dark for too long and bring it back to life for this town. We have, like I mentioned, we've engaged with so many people in town about this building, and we really look forward if the opportunity presents itself to continue doing that. We've received constructive criticism that has obviously informed how we've evolved our thinking, and we would love to continue to receive that. We've also received an outpouring of positivity and support for this, and we really hope that we can continue to work in that way with people of town as we move forward, in addition to working with the board. This building, like we said, has so much economic potential for this town, in addition to being something truly beautiful that the community can interact with on a regular basis. So thank you so much. We have included some flyers around the room that have access to a website we created dedicated to this project. Our contact information is there if you would like to reach out to us individually, and we'll obviously stick around after to talk with any of you face to face. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no. Okay, thank you very much for that. So the board will have some questions, and I appreciate the very thorough presentation too, as well as high energy. So thank you with that, and I'll start on the other end of the table.
You're out of luck, Scott. Could you talk a little bit about the seasonality of the hotel business in Madison and how you plan to operate within that rhythm?
Yeah, absolutely. So in that $500 assumption we made, that did account for seasonality. So the peaks and troughs, obviously, hotels like the Beach Hotel are able to command over $1,000 a night in the summer, but then see significant drop off in the rest of the year. So again, that $500 that we mentioned accounted for what we assumed would be some, significant degree of seasonality. We also accounted for that in the occupancy in our model. So while we landed at 60% occupancy, we did account for much higher occupancy in the summer, and then down to 35% occupancy in months like January, February. We also know it's common practice in New England to actually close hotels in the month of January to take a break. Each hotel does that as well. So we did account for that in our model. So again, we were quite conservative in how we thought about the seasonality.
So do you envision that you would shut down the hotel for a period of time in the winter?
What? Yeah, we actually don't envision that. We would attempt to operate it year round. We've seen other comps. We mentioned Auberge, the operating partner that we're in discussions with. They've recently opened properties like Wildflower Farm. We mentioned the Mayflower Inn in Connecticut. Those are properties that are also in areas with significant seasonality. Wildflowers in upstate New York, Mayflowers in Litchfield County. They see, major high seasons and then significant low seasons as well. They stay open year round. I think part of why we also included so much experiential programming is to fuel the business when guest occupancy may drop off. Again, that includes people from town engaging in the restaurants, spa, and the like. But we think that we can market and really engage people to come participate with the hotel in those businesses, not just the guest occupancy.
You talk a lot about amenities available to the community. Are you envisioning that these amenities are available to us as retail patrons of the hotel, or as some sort of special preferred guest I'm not talking about the rooms, although that would be nice, but of the other amenities?
No, we envision that these spaces would be open to anybody, open to the public. So if you want to come to the cafe, you want to come to the restaurant, you want to come to the rooftop bar, you don't need to be a guest at the hotel. You don't need to pay a day pass to come to the hotel. Anybody can come in any day of the week and engage at the hotel.
We still have to buy coffee.
Yeah, hopefully buy coffee.
Right. I think you guys have taken in the activities that happen on those fields, the carnival that happens, which would be at the height of the season, that would have some impact on the hotel, if nothing else from a noise perspective.
Yeah, I mean, we did take that into account. Obviously, we would put significant acousticals into the construction, especially of the new building, but obviously we're retrofitting the existing as well, so we have the opportunity to do that. I mean, the benefit of the carnival, it shuts down pretty early, so it's not like, people are going to be up all night. We also think that that's part of what adds to the charm of this hotel, right? I mean, there's not that many towns in America where you can go to a really quaint carnival and participate in that. And so we actually think that's a tourist draw and part of what makes this a special property.
Two more questions. The residences. can you give us a ballpark on what you think the market value of the residences are?
Yeah, we're estimating that they'll sell at about $700 a square foot, so it's about $1.1 million in our opening sales.
Okay. In your financial model, it looks like you're capturing about 16% of the luxury market in your first year. Are you capturing that or are you growing that space?
The intent is to grow it, like I mentioned, because there is such a white space. We do think there's so much opportunity to really grow that pie. So again, would we like to be taking share from places like Delamar? For sure. But I actually think the bigger opportunity is to grow that pie.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Nearly 20 years ago, I had the pleasure of sitting through some extensive hearings for the Madison Beach Hotel. And there were two especially prickly issues which occupied many of the hearing evenings. The first was not this parking, not peak hour parking, but event parking. The second issue had to do with the delivery of supplies to the hotel and to the restaurant. I guess I'm turning that into a question.
Try and pull that up so we can just go through the site.
Yeah.
I'll go over there.
Like I mentioned, we did think about peak event parking. So I think that there are creative solutions that we can find to that parking, whether that is working with, St. Margaret's or the Congregational Church to say, hey, we've got big events. And, I actually have already met with them and talked to them about this potential. Both of them are open to that type of partnership, but say, we've got an event, you guys aren't in service. Can we use some of your parking, obviously, for a fee? So I think that's a solution. I think using the park and ride, which obviously has quite a bit of open parking space for any overflow, could be an option. Again, I think we actually talked to another property in Westbrook where they had so many people near their property that wanted to use their front lawns to make money for parking. They actually ended up renting them. So, I think there's a lot of creative solutions to keep parking demand. And then the other you mentioned was around
Deliveries.
No, we couldn't get it, but we do have, you're gonna open the driveway.
Yeah, so that was also part of why we included the driveway, because we thought, you could have trucks come off of the street to deliver at the driveway. There are also, which we debated, and maybe you can, we did look at the space between the building and the ball field as another potential area where you could have trucks come off the road. There also could be the opportunity to not do any sort of pedestrian sidewalk along the Academy Street side of the building and turn that into a place where trucks could pull off of the road and then access the basement for delivery. So I think there are multiple avenues that we can explore. Obviously, some of that's going to be best done with the traffic consultant who's going to understand, the intensity of deliveries for our programming.
First question is about the residences. Why only 4? I can see probably a lot of people sitting here right now that would be interested in buying a residence.
We sold 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, that is an issue. And I think the idea, the condo hotel kind of concept is very popular. I know some of the other projects that you highlighted, they're more heavily weighted towards that. Why only 4 here? And, because that does give you, I would think, more activity in the, in the building, obviously.
For sure.
Yeah.
So from a intensity of the site perspective, we were trying to be respectful and not increase the height of the building so much. And so that was one of the limiting factors. We did designate that top floor to be residences, but didn't want to go much higher than that. Again, people are open to that, certainly a discussion. We also weren't sure if there was going to be a lot of demand for that type of product. And so we intentionally kept more hotel units than we did condos. Again, I think that's something we could revisit, especially, since we've submitted our EOI, we've been studying more of the demand in places like High Street and Guilford, where there's been such demand for that type of product. So I do think it's something we could revisit.
And a couple other things from a revenue perspective. I think it makes sense to have the guests come in, they're going to spend money in town, and they become more of a traffic to drive the economy here. We also looked at it from a capital stack perspective. So in the state of Connecticut, you're able to use deposits from buyers as free leverage, essentially, for our project. So we took a little bit of that cash. I think it was like $800,000 in our capital stack.
The other thing is the beach hotel. One of the reasons it's so popular is the beach hotel, right? And that's why people come to Madison. How are you going to incorporate the beach for your guests? What's the hook to come to Madison? You're not on the beach.
Yeah.
And some of the other examples, I think it was Kennebunkport, like the White Bar, that was beautiful. I kind of checked out some of the sites. But, you know, that's a very, you know, the town is an international destination. So just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, we will be able to offer the beach to people. Obviously, we have Madison, so there is the ability to go to the beach. I think also when you visit, you know, a very high-end hotel, they can facilitate shuttles down to the beach and things like that. We envision, you know, giving people bikes to be able to bike through town. I think in addition to obviously the beach, there's also a lot of local regional programming that happens, whether it's participating in our fall season. There's so many festivals and things like that. That, you know, I think there is tourist interest in coming to participate in. But then the other thing about this property and sort of the vision that we have for it is creating a sense of place. So as we mentioned, we already have a Michelin star chef who is interested in operating this restaurant. So we think there's a chance to really build a culinary community out of this restaurant that draws people from New York City, from Boston to come eat in the restaurant. We think there's also something to be said about creating this historical building and leaning into you know, participating in history. It's a bit of a novelty stay, if you will. You can't always stay in a 100-year-old school building. I also think there's a lot of charm that I think as residents of Madison, we often take for granted. But if you look at markets like the Hudson Valley, there are many, many towns similar to Madison where it really is just a mom and pop run Main Street. And people crave that. You know, you're in New York City, it's really crazy, it's busy. Madison offers people a chance to come get a respite. It's quiet, it's quaint, there are beautiful businesses, there is the beach. We'll create this restaurant program. I think there's a lot of opportunity that people are craving that type of experience.
And it successfully works with these brands. So if you look in places like Rhinebeck and other places in Hudson Valley, we talk about Wildflower Farms. I mean, it's a hot and trending list. So people want to go there. They're leaving the city to go to this resort on the weekend. And it could be in the middle of January, you see the entire resort's filled with people. And that's our plan, to do the same experiential design here.
Just one last question on the amenities. Pool. I think pool, luxury hotel. I know that's a challenge. Did you think about adding a pool? And
we have thought about it. I think obviously we've already been quite intensive in the footprint on the site. We didn't want to be more intensive in our more recent conversations around architecture and engineering. We think there could be opportunity to put a pool on the roof possibly and reprogram the roof. So
of the second
building, yes, not a big building. So again, it's not, I think obviously we're still very early as of designs evolve. I do think it's something to that.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation so far. I do have two questions. One is, can you talk a little bit more about the members lounge and anticipated costs for folks that might be interested in participating in that? And then my second question revolves just around the septic. As we looked at the community center previously, it seemed like the septic was going to have to go under the playground, but in your pictures, it's showing that the playground isn't going to be affected. So can you talk about what you're anticipating for that placement?
Yeah, sure. So I'll talk about the members lounge first. So we have budgeted in our model a membership fee of around $3,000 to $3,500 per year. That would include access to special programming, like we mentioned. We get fitness center access, spa access, and may get discounts at the restaurants and things like that. We're very again conservative in our approach to membership. We only accounted for 150 founding members. Again, we've already gotten more people that would like to participate in that. So I think we've been quite conservative in that programming. From a septic perspective, I think we showed that the site of the playground would remain untouched. I think from our conversations with the civil engineers we have spoken to, and it was even mentioned by the other group, there are such high efficiency systems that they do feel that there is other land within that baseball field that could house those septic mechanisms. and enough land, because, you know, it is quite a large area. It's 2 acres back there where they do feel that there could be enough to use the existing soil that's there and go into that area. But obviously we need to do additional testing. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate your presentation. I'm going to wrap it up with about 15 questions. Is that okay, Bruce? I figured you did. So as we look at the 4 proposals that came forward, yours was wonderful, but included an additional building of 55,000 square feet. And I'm curious, does the project work without that 55,000 square foot building?
He does not, is the short of it. I can expand on this, but as we mentioned, we started looking in Academy building first. We thought, well, let's see how many units we can get into the original schoolhouse building. And with ADA requirements, you need to have, you know, everyone needs to be able to access all of the spaces. You need to have 2 means of egress in the building. We really could not get more than 17 hotel rooms in that building. And even that was pushing it. We were sort of cutting down square footage and things like that. And then also drastically reducing the amenity programming because we were using amenity spaces for guest rooms, which obviously reduces the benefit to the community. So when we then looked at the economic model, how do you obviously make all of the math on this work? It really came down to, we need a second building where we can get the units required. And the number we landed on, you know, isn't greedy. It's what's required to make this economic model work without, you know, building a building that's 10 stories high.
No, and it pays for the restoration of the original building.
Obviously, you know Madison very well. You're new to Madison. And we're a small town with character and community and all of that. Can we sustain 2 hotels in this little small town?
I believe yes, strongly. You know, people are really surprised when they hear that the Beach Hotel only has 33 rooms. It's actually not that big. We're talking about adding 66 in total when you add the condos. So we're in total at 100, not even 100 rooms all in. We are already seeing increased tourist demand into Madison. Anyone who's following short-term rental trends in Madison would know that Airbnbs have absolutely exploded in Madison in the last 3 years. So there's clear demand for people coming here. You know, people are renting out their homes, and it's changing the character of especially the summer season here. So there is tourist demand in Madison. I actually had a great meeting with the Beach Hotel themselves, who told me that they have more demand than they can meet in their rooms, especially when it comes to events. We talked about ways we can actually partner. When they do weddings, they're not able to offer room blocks to all of their guests because they just don't have the room. So we talked about how could we provide overflow to their guests. So I do think there is enough capacity. Also talking about servicing the entire shoreline. There's nothing like this in Guilford, nothing like this in Clinton, nothing like this in Westbrook. And so this isn't just about Madison, this is about considering the market more broadly.
Great answer, thanks.
I was kidding, you're really good at the question.
Okay.
You talked early on about your role as bringing this to completion and then handing off to an operator that you would handpick. I think what you'd like us to infer from that is that your roots in the community make that okay because you will continue to be invested in the property as a member in the community. What is your commitment to maintain that ownership once the project's complete?
So right now in our economic model, we don't have any sort of like near-in timeline to sell the property. So we would intend to build it, to find the operator, and to own it for some period of time. I obviously can't speak to what happens down the line, but like I said, I mean, I am a member of the community. I would care, I do and will continue to care deeply about the property and have the town's interests at heart. I don't want to be a resident living here for the next till I'm dead with some hotel that's owned that, you know, I don't respect the operations of it in the heart of my town.
Is that something, if we were to move forward, is that something that we could codify in an agreement? Some timeline?
And just the lawyer.
To be honest, I don't think we want to tie our hands to anything that we put in writing. We're willing to work with the town and understand your concerns if it were to be sold in however many years, what that looks like. But if we really just look at the whole timeline, it takes about 2 years to stabilize. And what that means is when you can refinance the construction loan at that point. And now you know that you have a regular occupancy that you can expect the revenue to come in. After that, most hotels take at least another 5 years or so until they're really peaking and they're even in a position to sell. So trying to get any sort of perspective of what that would look like in the next 7 years would really do us a disservice just as developers. But I would say, as Ashley mentioned, other than the fact that she is a resident of the town, and in selecting the operator itself, our incentives are aligned. We're putting our own cash into this. We really do believe in this project. So we're aligned not just in living in the town, but we put our money where our mouth is. And so when we're thinking about who's going to be here, we're really looking for this long-term viability. And the second thing I would say about it is it's not going to be an attractive product to any other company unless they're coming in, they're going to be able to do the same thing. They're not going to want to just come here and let the property go to the dump. So I think everybody's incentives align from a fiscal perspective, and it gives some sort of assurance that it's going to go in the right direction.
Thank you.
One more.
Unless somebody else texts me. Obviously, this is a larger construction effort, and as an environmentally conscious town, as presented by the previous proposal, a lot of water usage that is going to be required, whether it be laundry, whatever, pools. Is that a concern? Are you thinking about that kind of stuff? Costs?
We have thought about it. I'll say a couple of things. One, we intentionally planned for an offsite laundry program exactly for the water intensity reason. But we also, if you saw in our capital stack, included PACE funding, which is specifically intended for environmental construction programs, including high efficiency when it comes to water, lighting, other utilities. And so we will only qualify for that funding if we are using environmentally conscious construction practices.
I think we're done.
I mean, there are a lot of questions about the financing stack. Obviously, you have, I figured that'll be a further conversation if we were going to be moving down the TIF. And then obviously you have a limited partner that is identified as possibly the town in there.
Actually, can I address that really quickly?
Yeah, okay.
So we should have put this explicitly. We do not require any funds from the town to do this project. I think that was a misconception that came from our EOI. We wanted to offer the town an opportunity to act as an investor. At the time, there were obviously grants given to the town of Madison for this property. And we thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool if Madison could use those grants to earn a return? But that is absolutely not required for us to do this project. As Alicia mentioned, we already have the capital committed to do the project, so we do not need any funds from the town of Madison to complete this project.
Right, thank you for clarifying that. I think that's it from the board, right? So we'll just move on to the citizen comment section. And as I mentioned, this similar to how we did this on Tuesday, this is an opportunity for the public to stand up and just express comments to us. We're not engaging in the back and forth tonight, and then we'll try to answer any questions via email. And then please limit your comments to 2 minutes if you can. And then we'll do in the room first, and then we'll move to online. So I think if you could come up and make your comment. That's right. So state your name and address, please, and then if you want to make a comment, then you can come up and speak at the podium.
My name is Bruce Lockhart. I've been in Madison 25 years. I've stayed at the Mayflower. The cheapest room is $700 a night for a single, up to $2,100 a night for a single. If you go to the Mayflower spa, you better have a lot of money because you're not going to walk out of there for $500 or $600. I appreciate the thought, but to try to make Madison and this project financially viable, you're looking at a segment of the American population that maybe is 1 or 2%. to afford the Mayflower. That's number one. Number two, if we're going to try to help our retail stores in Madison, this facility is set up to spend every dollar in that hotel to make that hotel work. Somebody dropping $2,100 a night is not going to walk down the street to eat a pizza. That's not going to happen. They're not going to buy clothing in Madison when Mayflower, where a sweater costs you $400 or $500. That's where they shop. So the idea of building this thing and it's going to enhance Madison, that's a joke. It's never going to work. And then when it doesn't work, because the Mayflower has been sold 3 times. I've stayed there for 25 years. I know the history of the building, and it costs a lot of money. There are a lot of New Yorkers who go up to Litchfield. They go antiquing, beautiful area. This is a high. You're looking at a very small segment. And my first thought is I want a park. I don't need any more buildings in downtown Madison. I don't need it to change the character of the town. The town is beautiful the way it is. We don't need to improve perfection. It's a great town. If we have to settle, the next thing would be to settle for apartments, low-income apartments for our people who make under $70,000 a year. And we don't need a ballroom, and we don't need a theater. Make the whole building low-income housing for the workers that work in that. That's my idea.
Thank you. That's on.
Yeah. Just flip, there's a switch on.
Yeah, sorry, I just realized that was just on. But-
All right, can you hear me? Is it on?
Yes.
Okay. It's not on?
Yes.
Get real close. Gotta get out far.
How about that? Yeah. So my name is Thomas Lee, and I live at 17 Bradley Road. So where I live, I can see the ball fields from my front yard. The key reason I want to talk is I'm on the executive board of Deacon John Grave House, which is right across the street, okay? And one of the real concerns at the Deacon John Grave House is all the vandalism that happens at Academy School. A lot of windows have been broken, and so that's part of the reason why we have lights on 24/7 at the Deacon John Grave House to try and keep vandals away. So our basic feeling is we would like to see something happen, okay? The building has been derelict for decades, okay? And we want to see something move ahead. And either option is a good possibility. Personally, I would prefer to see it be not an expanded building, that they just renovate the Academy School itself without adding more buildings to it. The other thing I'd point out, because I live close and I walk my dog there just about every day, is when we have really heavy rainstorms in the spring, the fields can stay wet for days on end. And they have a drain system right in the middle of the field, and I've seen that still have, be backed up with water 3 or 4 days after a rainstorm. So there's been a lot of tests done on whether or not septic system is viable. I think they're going to be in for some surprises when they actually try to do it. So that's my comment.
Next person.
My name is Joe Valentine, and I was the chair of the Academy Community Center Building Committee. I think the 2 presentations we saw were impressive, and thank you very much for coming and preparing. But since I can't ask you a question, my question is a direct question to the Board of Selectmen. The question is, or the assumption rather is, that this will have to go to a referendum in order to transfer the Academy building to another owner. My question is, in addition to what we've been presented in the last the last two presentations, will there be a choice for demolition and creation of a park? Will that have, the estimated cost of the demolition? And will there be some, at least, drawings or representations of what a park would look like? Some of that information came from the Academy Building Committee. There were, the building committee saw the project was in two parts. There was the building, and then there was the area surrounding the building, which enhanced the usage of the building. And there were some representations of what that could look like. I'd like to know if that could be expanded to include the entire site acreage. Thank you.
My name is Dennis Grove, 141 Twilight Drive. And I want to second the concept of allowing the townspeople to have one of the options be lease the building, put in grass, maybe someday add some units. But there has to be. One of the things that I haven't seen so much addressed, even though supposedly people have addressed parking, the issue becomes competition for parking when we have such events that are downtown, parade, John Graves plant sale, the concerts on the green, so many events that occur downtown that take up parking there. Those other buildings do have people come to them. So I'd like to see that that option for a park come up as one of the options. And we think we have an awful lot of questions. But I'm sorry, I intended to start this off. Thanking you for having this forum. It's very helpful. Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. My name is Andy Valambroso, Forest Pond Road. Speaking to the mic. Hear me now? Okay. One of my main concerns is the downtown area. Parking, as you all know, during the summer, you can't find a parking space. Can't even get into the post office. Restaurants are crowded. You can't even get into a restaurant. We're going to lose the charm of Madison. And that's why I moved here. I came out of New Haven. And as Ann knows, New Haven, it could be tough at times. I came here for the ambiance and the safety of Madison. It's going to be hectic down there. Some of the things I'm concerned about is that there hasn't been a study, and I was in the building business. I was a trained building inspector from the state of Connecticut. Early years, I worked for an architect firm. There hasn't been a study on the footings of this building. During everything that went on with the academy, no study has been done. It's a 90-plus-year-old building. I'm really concerned that it's not going to be able to handle all this weight. The second thing is the septic system. That whole area is on a high water table. I studied all the renderings for the last 40 or 50 years on that area. And that whole area has, like I said, very high water table, which turned all the soil into peat or peat moss. And it's going to be very difficult to put a septic system there. I mean, extremely difficult. They have to excavate all the sand out of there, put crushed stone in, and then try to engineer a system that's going to handle it. But the second proposal of all the apartments and hotel rooms and all the water usage, it's not going to fly. That's the main thing what I'm worried about is that, all you companies that are interested in doing something, I don't know if you got an engineer out there yet, but in the last 40 years, an engineer has been out there to assess what's going on there, especially with the footings. Thank you.
Carrie Daniel Older, Bartlett Drive. I'm trying to imagine you all right now in your underwear. I want to mention something that,
Louder.
okay, currently there's a big study going on evaluating all of Madison's properties and facilities, and that's something that should be taken into account when considering what to do with this building and also with the land. So that shouldn't be completely separate. It should be incorporated into any decision going forward on this. So what does that imply? Well, the land behind the academy, the two ball fields are part of the evaluation, or part of the understanding that that is land that belongs to the town. And what are we going to do with that? There's a fairly large group, we even heard from some tonight, that want to see the building torn down, have all of that turned, all the land turned into a park. It's a great idea, it's a nice idea, but it would cost Madison taxpayers money, and it would not bring any income into the town for the use of that park. So in my opinion, and everybody has an opinion, some have very many opinions, but in my opinion, any proposal for the use of the building and the land should include three things. It should be revenue generating for the town. Otherwise, we're going to hear about it for a long time. Second, the building should provide some use to the town residents for some way, shape, or form, whether it's a room or a couple of rooms. That would be great, rather than having it totally exclusive to only the owners of the apartments or only those who are renting out the rooms. Thirdly, we should strongly consider working with any developer, a joint financially supported effort to convert the ball fields into a park. Then you can satisfy that desire for so many people to have a park downtown. And we have so much land that we can then take those ball fields and relocate them. But financially, we could tie that into the negotiations with the developer to include the development of that portion of the land into a park. And then we satisfy a lot of people. Thank you.
Justin Tishy, I'm also on Bartlett Drive, my neighbor.
Am I too tall?
So I also grew up in Madison. I graduated in 2005. And the interesting thing, if you look back at 2005, it was the last time this population hit its peak. We've actually been in a steady decline since then. We're about 1,000 people less than we were in 2005. And so I have 2 kids. I like parks, but this town only survives if we have families that want to live here and want to continue to move here. And the park's not going to do that. So we need to consider proposals. So I think we need to consider any proposals that either A, bring in revenue to the town, or B, bring in housing to the town, or both. I also don't understand the need to put this unnecessary hurdle by keeping the baseball fields, but that's a separate issue. So, you know, as I said, the town needs families to survive. And so I guess what I would caution everyone who's here tonight to think about is that it's really easy to confuse preservation and stagnation. And keeping an old dilapidated building or keeping, you know, a park in its place isn't really going to help the town grow or become a better town. So.
Thanks. My name is Gene Gardy. I live at 140 Bishop Lane. I'm a neighbor, and we didn't plan to do this, but I just wanted to say that I would also, 10 years been a resident, so I'm kind of still a newcomer. I know it takes a while here. I grew up in a small town that was similar to Madison, but not as quaint, I have to admit. It was a Sound Shore kind of town. And you would always sort of fight against the new buildings, sort of like, we don't need more of that, we don't want more of that. So when I heard about this happening, I thought, try to get involved, go to meetings, see what they're doing. And I did read all 4 plans, and it seemed the most logical was this hotel that
seen, and nobody's even said that, just some people talking. And have nothing to do with it, literally, I just read all four. It seems like a great idea, boutique hotel. I will never stay in any one of those rooms, $2,100 or even $500, promise that. But it sounds like a good idea. Maybe it could be smaller, I don't know. They mentioned it can't be that small, but maybe that's something. But it seemed like a really super idea. I just wanted to get support behind it. Everybody's got an opinion, someone said it. And I do agree that ball fields, I love ball fields, I played sports, but there's a lot of fields in Madison that it's probably not the right place for them anyway. So with that, I would support the hotel, but I have nothing to do with it. I thought it was a great idea. But watch out for too much progress, so don't make it too big either. So yeah, where people want to.
Excuse me, Mark Manuel, Randy Grant. So there are strengths and weaknesses of any proposal here that we heard, the two tonight, or the previous two, of course. And I think most of the people in this town are fiscally responsible. I was going to say conservative fiscally. There are some of these projects that require grants. We are living through an era where federal funding, we're watching it dry up as we speak, right? National Endowment of the Arts, all sorts of grants. I have an occupation that is grant driven. We all know how difficult those things are. There are projects, the hotel project is independent, as I understand, of requiring any grant. It's all in place. It's not costing the town anything. For those of you that want a green space, I don't understand that logic at all. The footprint of that school is a fraction of any green space in this town, from edge to edge, right? The ball fields, the green, we've got 3 public beaches, we've got ball fields, we've got the former airport property, our farm. There are green spaces all scattered all over town. There are not spaces for large events, weddings. What's wrong with bringing commerce to the city that brings tax revenues, attraction to a seacoast town? There's nothing wrong with it. I think we're underestimating what the attraction to this town really could be with a facility like this.
Okay, I'm tall too, so I'm gonna just squat. I'm Lindsay Johnson of Twilight. I'm a business owner in town. I'm here and makeup artist. And I have to say that I hear from a lot of people in town. I see families, I see moms, dads, kids, and I hear from everyone. And it's interesting to me, and I'm gonna touch on, I think his name was Andrew, the fact that we don't have, we have crowded restaurants in town. And I think that the idea of having a restaurant right on the green space in town where we could enjoy either something downstairs or rooftop, or take coffee to go and go watch our kids play baseball. Something next to the ball fields where there's a bathroom where we could take our kids to go to the bathroom. It sounds silly, but the amount of times that I have taken my son, like scrambling to try to find something for him, and he's 8, so he's not gonna hold it. I think that sounds really exciting. The other thing that I hear is that people don't have places to stay when the Madison Beach Hotel is filled up. They're scrambling to find places for their families to stay. I do brides all the time, and they're always asking, where can I stay? Where can I put my family? And I love the idea that not only would this hotel provide extra space for them, but I could see it being just such a beautiful relationship between the academy and also the beach too. And keeping the dollars being spent in town instead of people going to Old Saybrook, going to Westbrook, going to wherever. Like, let's keep those dollars in town. And the last thing I'm going to say is I also have grown up in town. I moved back. I was a class of 2004, moved back to raise my son here. And what I will tell you is that my generation is all about experience too. And the fact that this hotel would provide experiences that create memories is really attractive.
No, I'm not doing this down. Sure. My name is Terry Donnelly. I've been living here about 30 years. I raised my daughter. Can you hear me? No, okay. My name is Terry Donnelly. I'm a nurse, and I raised my daughter here. She is now 32 years old. I just want to say that I think this town needs more spirit. It needs young people, young minds. Their ideas are phenomenal. Where I work, I'm the oldest person there in my department. I work with all the young people. And those young people bring such a great attitude and a mindset to the care that we give to patients because they care. These kids care. These young people, I'm sorry, I'm calling them kids. These young people really care about bringing families together. It's not just going to be a hotel. It's going to be a lot of things. It has a cafe, it has a restaurant, it has that green there, the beach. Come on, you've got to do it. You've got to do it. My daughter says that Madison has lost, she feels, has lost the spirit. And that's why she moved away. Let's bring that spirit back and let young people put their ideas in, and let's have fun.
Hey, one more. Okay, yeah.
I'll make it. Yeah, hi, everyone. I'm Joe Chimbalo, Madison, Winding Road.
Joe tilted over. You may have to grab it. Just grab it.
Okay. On stage. I'll just like that. Again, I'm Joe Chimbalo. I'm from Madison, I live on Winding Road. It was interesting to hear all the proposals. I haven't been so involved with this, and I like the idea of the hotel. At first, I was one of the tear it down people for sure. Make it apart. The concern there is just having the costly town, another costly town, and that's just what I'm against. You know, it's an old building, it takes a lot of work, and the discussion from the hotel proposal to show how much revenue is needed to come in just to make that one building viable for anything is really telling you something. That just a couple rental apartments for $1,000 a month isn't going to cover what it costs to make that building into something usable. So the hotel proposal is really putting something together, and they're saying to make this building as just a couple cafes, a little open space, a restaurant space is quite significant. I think that just kind of tells everything. And then the other part of it that I thought about is I'm getting older, right? And to have a business, there's jobs for people with job shuttles, retired people to do things like that in town. I think that's a lot of little jobs that could be help a lot of people. You know, little part-time jobs here that people could really use. So I'm a fan of the hotel. You've turned me from the tear it down to the hotel person. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I know we have people attending online, so we'll try to, for a few minutes. Are there any hands raised? If people, so you can't get this back up on the screen? The Zoom? I think you hit it, actually, right? Okay.
John Muller is online if you would like to say something.
So, sorry, there's a hand raised? So you can raise him up and he can make his public comment. Okay.
He has permission to talk. John, you're
Okay,
still on.
John Muller, if you can hear us, you have permission to talk. He's muted. Okay. Yeah, no, yes, I'm just, okay, so if there's anybody else that wants to speak, please raise your hand online. And you're also welcome to do, send your questions to, okay, so a couple more come up. All right, why don't we move on? Oh, wait, John, okay. Go ahead, John Mueller. Nope. Okay, so why don't we move on and maybe we can go back if it looks like we can get it back, but we'll go on to the next person. Alex, please state your name and address. You can unmute.
Hi, good evening. 917 Boston Post Road. Few questions. What are all of our options, and when will the community sort of have a roadmap to actually understand completely and thoroughly what these options are? Is there a timeline in which we have to decide what will be done with Academy? How will it ultimately be decided? I know, Peggy, you had mentioned, obviously it's a decision that the community will decide, but specifically, do we have that in writing, or do we have that policy sort of on record so that, the community really knows how this will be decided? Shifting gears, the community center, as we all remember, sort of was an idea. It was really unlimited ideas. There were so many creative things that people wanted to do, so many interests that people had. And it wasn't really until the volunteers put tremendous amount of time going through, a theater became something simple to actually affecting HVAC and lighting, and became very expensive. When we actually went to build, $16 million wasn't enough, and I think, needed to go to closer to 25. My question in that is, are we really comparing apples to apples tonight with these 4 presentations? It seems to me a lot of these ideas are very creative, but are they going to get to the point where we got, which is, geez, it's a lot more expensive than we anticipated. And at that point, what would actually happen to these projects if, one, the economy changes, there's so much risk, and we find ourselves halfway through one of these projects where the people are no longer in business, or it's changed hands. What sort of leverage do we have at that point in time? We could find ourselves in some horrible situations, and which leads me to ask, any of these proposals, or anything, quite frankly, is going to require so much legwork on behalf of the town as far as attorney costs go, to really, these are massive deals. Who's paying for it? Who's in charge of that? What kind of assurance do we have that our interests are being represented in the way that we would represent our own affairs at home with a gigantic purchase? And I assume these are things that have been thought through, but I ask just on record, because it's the severity of what we could be getting ourselves into. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I just will remind people that there will be further conversations by the Board of Selectmen about next steps and how we proceed, and how decisions will be handled in terms of the future of the building. So that'll be further conversation. I think we have another hand raised. Jennifer, I can't read it, but is it? Oh, John is on it. So John Mueller. I don't think he's there. So we'll go back to Jennifer McFadden. I can't read it from here.
Hi, Jennifer McFadden. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Great.
So grew up in Madison, moved back, I don't know, 12 years ago or so, raised 2 kids here, was a fan of the community center, but I will say what's so compelling about the hotel is that it is revenue generating. I think people are really discounting the need for or desire for people to come to places like Madison. If you look at examples like the Inn at Groton that is up in the middle of nowhere in Groton, Massachusetts, which is a town that is way less charming than what we have here in Madison. Those rooms rent for $300, $400, $500, $600 in January and go upwards and insane during wedding season. And I just think there's a really good opportunity here for us to have, amidst all of the incredible parks that we have that I have taken advantage of my entire life, some more things going on downtown that are revenue generating and accretive to all of our bottom lines. I'm at 90 Madison Springs, by the way. So I just encourage, I think it's also in line with a lot of trends that are going on right now in the wellness space. The fact that I would have access to a private place to go to have gym and classes and a sauna and a hot tub for $250. I have been driving down to the Saybrook Point Inn, and it's incredibly inconvenient and really quite gross. To have that sort of amenity in town would be amazing. So I just want to say kudos to all of you guys. I work at the business school at Yale. I think you did a great job kind of walking through all the financials, and I'm excited to hopefully see this move forward.
Any other hands raised? Okay. With that, then, I want to thank everybody for coming out today, and thank you to our presenters again. And the conversation will continue. And with that, can I get a motion to adjourn? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.